Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich and Kelsey, or I call it Kelsey and Rich.
Well, this is your channel, so it's Rich Kelsey. I love the sound of that, Rich Kelsey. I can deal,
I'm a gentleman, though. I'm actually going to grab my iPad out so I can see the chat while we go. So when I'm in full screen mode, I'll be able to check out everything. But this is really exciting for me, and I know I'd mentioned I'd mentioned it in a YouTube video. I think you watched it, but you may not have realized it. But what I would like for you to do is I want to do maybe
could have had homework. Dang.
No. I would love to do 2 or 3 videos where we follow the chain of Frank's influence a little bit. And the first thing that I want to show you is there's a few really good blogs that have broke down different parts of Frank's work that are very much curiosities.
Oh.
And one of the interesting things is different versions of his paintings. He's very famous or notorious, you might say, for going in and tinkering with things once they've been published.
Really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah. So what would happen is Frank would get a call to do a book cover for one of the publishers, and many times would have a deadline, and he would finish it up. And if he didn't like it after the fact, he would many times go in and keep working on the painting, sometimes over a period of years. And so you can follow this very, very interesting chain of paintings evolving, and it's really, really cool. But I found I was trying to find the site online because I know I saved all the different versions of the book covers, but when I was looking for it, I actually found a blog that has swipes, or I hate to be so that sounds like a very negative thing, but we have to look first. Yeah, I think it's a really, really funny, and Frank Swipe too. I mean, there's definitely documentation.
Well, what do they say? A bad artist swipes, a great artist steals. I mean,
sure.
I straight up steal all the time, and I make it a challenge. If you could spot the swipe, I'll give you this page of art. That kind of thing.
Right. Oh, that's
because I'm pretty sneaky about it. But yeah. I do tell people I'm very open. Oh man! Just today, I was trying to draw like dynamic poses, and I was like looking at my favorite thing is to look at tiny figures in the background of Kirby stuff.
Oh,
and just swipe that pose because nobody will see this background guy who's like,
Yeah, in the heavy metal story I'm doing, I never have drawn characters that could fly, like physically fly, with maybe was it Archangel from something along the lines of that, like in broad strokes. And I haven't been using. I'm looking now more, but I was trying to pull out like every flying pose that I could make up like out of my head. It's interesting, It's a very fun challenge, but yeah, at some point you got to go like, all right, I need to see some people that have done some really good like characters flying, drawings and see how they thought of it.
You got 24 people here. You got Michael Ingart, Adi Maximiliano.
What's up, Adi?
Says you rule, Rich.
Thank you.
You and Frazetta. Just you and Frazetta. That's
no, I'm so excited to do this video, but I have to say that the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think I've had more fun online and working and drawing than I have in so long. There's this community building of people, and I will credit a little bit of it to COVID-19. I hate to say it, but so many people are at home or their lives have been changed, and it's like people like artists. And I mentioned we've kind of stepped up and had to become not just artists, but really entertainers. We're like we're kind of comedians. We're sort of
we're used to sitting at home entertaining ourselves. So
right. Yeah. So give me 1 second. I realize my iPad is in the living room. I'm just going to go grab it really fast and then we'll get this thing going. But this is going to be a long live stream. So everyone settle in. If you need to maybe hit the bathroom, go do it really fast. Because I'm telling you, this is going to be so much fun. Everyone's going to leave this with just excited to draw. So
I'm excited already.
Yeah.
Hey, Electric Elf, Danny D, Atomic Bulldog Art, Addie, hello, Elliot Tech, Scott, Leg Kick One. That's a good. And Roger Oslin. I think that's how you do the little umlauts. How's everybody doing? Andrew Taz 01. Huh?
I said Basquiat.
That was a fast bathroom break, man. You wish it was a
Oh no. I just grabbed this so I could see the chat. So I don't miss super chats today. I'm trying to up my my game on all this shit. I'm gonna do one of Dan's draw offs, and I need to be set up for that too.
What draw? Oh, you mean
what's October?
Yeah, I saw that going on. What is somebody comes up with a theme,
right. Yeah,
and then he'll bring in some people and like do you guys vote on who did the best, or does the chat vote?
Yeah,
does it matter? It probably doesn't matter. It's just all cool.
It doesn't really matter. Last Wildstorm, we used to do this thing called the Iron Chef Challenge, where essentially it would be like people would suggest the ingredient, which would be the character that you're going to draw, or whatever.
And, oh no, that's fun. Like if you just say you could draw anything you want, but it has to have like a cigarette in it or something, a rock.
Yeah. Well, they used to do that on the Shane Glines drawing board. You remember the photos they would do weekly and how creative people would be with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do
fun. Good times.
What do you got? Oh my god, dude, this is like a dream for me.
Frazetta. Time to nerd out.
I know. Okay, so let's talk about it for a second. I say let's look at the blog and look at the influence of Frank on other artists' work. Some of the swipes are funny. Like it's weird what they did. So let me go into.
Well, off the top of my head, I can definitely name Mignola. Mike Mignola does. I don't know that he necessarily swipes, but he's definitely influenced. Greinberg. Remember him, Tom Greinberg?
Yeah, Tom Greinberg. Well, Mike Hoffman is heavily influenced by Frank.
Hoffman.
These are pieces and artists that I didn't know, which they're good, but this one is hysterical, and it's from 1971, so these are going way back. These aren't like real recent. It's sort of like if you were hired to do a book cover in 1973, and you were a Frank fan. So let me go into share screen.
Boris Vallejo, yeah,
right. Yeah, but do you think with Boris, do you really see what I would call direct, like where you go, oh, he stole that piece?
Oh no. These are just influences. I think Jeffrey Jones, all these. I mean, there's so many people that are influenced, but these are. I mean, maybe they swiped when they were young, but these were solid pros that went in their own direction pretty quick. So.
These are swipes. One's really funny too. It's so random, but okay. So I'm gonna click on this and then share, and this should be my
San Julian. Yeah, I like him too.
Oh, he's great. Good. Okay, so let me go into here. Now, are you seeing a Frazetta painting right now, like a book cover?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go up, and we're going to kind of scroll down.
That was also an album cover, I think, for Molly Hatchet. That's who it was.
So this is Frank's piece right here. This is what is the name? This is called Spider-Man. Actually, funny enough.
I was just thinking McFarlane might have swiped that for Spider-Man. No.
Right. Well, yeah, but okay. So this is really, really funny though. So it's a beautiful piece. We'll go into Photoshop and we'll be opening up stuff and zooming in more. But now watch this. This is where it gets actually very funny.
Deceptively simple, that one.
Look at this piece.
Oh wow.
It's funny that he copied the water in this green reflection.
Who is the artist there?
His name is Francisco Fernandez Zarza Perez. Whoa.
Whoa. What a mouthful.
Yeah. Oh, he goes by the name of Jano.
What's weird is he's got that little spot of green, which is an odd inclusion. It was even odd for Frank to do it. It's just this little spot to draw your eye. But
Yeah, I almost think it's like have you ever killed a bug and they've got weird colors that come out of them?
Yeah.
Like
well, skin tone has like I put purples and greens and it's so many other colors than just skin tone. So your shadows have lots of different colors. So and it's I love it when I see artists do that where they'll throw in other colors that aren't necessarily so precise. Like there's not a huge reason for it, but it certainly draws your eye to that area.
So this is.
But one of the things he didn't do in that one piece, that other artist, the swipe, is that Frazetta had these little water lines going off the page.
Yeah. He did add those in, actually. If you look, they're right here. This guy.
Yeah, okay. They're just kind of dark. Yeah.
It's funny. It's just so, like, seems so I mean, that wouldn't be something where I would go, man, I really need an idea for this.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I would be still in the spider pose or something first. So this was an interesting. We're not going to focus on tons of these, but I thought this was kind of fun just to get it going. So this is Frank's book cover for a book called The Black Star. Really, really cool piece. It's not a great scan of the book cover, but anyway, but it's this pose right here you're going to see in the next piece.
Oh, real quick. Antoine Dennison said he thought that green was from the bug's eye.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you smash a bug, but here's that. Here's that.
Oh, wow.
Right here. This is it's a nice piece, though. I mean, I like what the artist did. But yeah, if you look at Frank's, he's not holding a sword here, so he added a sword and then a shield.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to have like a guy's butt like front and center,
Right. Frank did in mind.
Yeah, that's interesting that he would take that pose. It's probably because it's hard to find. Oh wow, that's crazy.
But here's
that's kind of what I was talking about with swiping like little background guys.
Right. Well, and again, there are definitely documented. So this is just, I'll give credit to the blogger. This is Ragged Claws Network. It's actually a very, very good blog, and it has tons of great stuff. Toth, Jeff Jones. I mean, you can just see Corbin, all kinds of fun stuff. So I'll give him a little shout out. Ragged Claws, you do great work, and there's some very, very fun stuff on this blog. Let me just see if there was anything else of interest.
What's neat is, Frazetta, if you look at the Frazetta piece that he drew from, there's like this great triangular composition. The guy's body that he swiped from is integral to the composition, and then he pretty much just centered everything.
So this is a comic book that Frank did called Colt U.S. Marshal. This is from 1948, so Frank would have been 20. He did it under his nickname at the time, which was Fritz. And we'll look at these real quick. They're actually pretty cool pages and very nicely drawn. I mean, figure 20 years old. He's doing very, very nice work at that point already. I mean, there's documentation of him as a kid doing some pretty knockout pieces too.
I mean, my 20-year-old art is nowhere near this. I would have never drawn horses and I think I was just drawing bodies.
I mean, even the drapery on this guy's arm is fantastic. All the crush folds and stuff like that. It's very, very cool. This is nice.
I've always wondered how guys back in the day used reference because they didn't have access to the internet like we do. They didn't, they didn't have the ability to pause. They didn't have like TiVo or nothing.
Right.
So either they have lots of books, magazines, swipe files, what we used to have, big files full of every magazine clippings, everything that could work. Do you think Frank had that, or do you think he's another guy with just a good memory and kind of fudges it?
Honestly, I think that I think it's a combination of the two. I 100% believe that Frank did his homework. I mean, he's a real intelligent guy. He was very, very competitive. And there's no reason that I don't believe. You have to understand, too, he had an incredible group of friends around him. Angelo Torres, Nick Mengelin. He had Al Williamson. They call themselves the Flegel Gang. And
why the Flegel Gang?
Roy Krinkle. And so Krinkle, I think, honestly, was probably like the library for Frank. If I was going to guess, I think that the moment that he met Krinkle, well, I mean, my point being is that Krinkle was a working illustrator, and Krinkle had done the homework and he didn't probably have the natural ability of Frank, but he had done the hard work to get really good. And so I definitely think that Krinkle exposed Frank to a lot of great stuff. He probably had full access to the material that Krinkle would have collected. So I think they all kind of shared, and they would help each other work. I mean, it's documented in the Painting with Fire documentary that they all would help each other with jobs.
Now, why do they call it the Flegel Gang? What is Flegel?
Flegel is kind of like a toady. It's just a term for, I think, like ruffians, possibly something along the lines.
So
of
this
that.
is like the studio before the studio,
right?
The outsider group,
Sure. Look, I mean, there's no doubt that Kaluta writes in Barry Windsor Smith and Jeff Jones were all huge Frazetta fans. So
yeah, Flegel Gang fans, probably all of those guys are amazing.
1000%. Yeah. So this, you can actually really see Frank. Frank's style starting to evolve into it, and also Frank just as a person. I mean, it's as we all know, he was an incredibly handsome man.
and the boobs, you can tell, right? Frazetta boobs.
I'm trying to think. I don't think at this age he hadn't actually met Ellie yet. If I'm not mistaken, I think he met Ellie. She was 16, and I want to say he was 23 when he met her. So
different days.
right. Yeah, no kidding, right? She went after him, though. From Frank's story is that
it sounds Ellie, like my grandparents. So I think that was common.
What's the place where they do the Nathan's hot dogs? Coney Island.
Oh, Coney Island, yeah.
They met at Coney Island. Frank was probably there with girls flocking around him. And Ellie saw him and went like, he's going to be mine.
So Danny Cruz says all of the Flegel Gang peeps were taking pics of each other and using them in their comic works in the 50s. So if we look at a lot of that comic stuff, we'll see we'll see the actual artists in there.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, it sometimes can be blown out of proportion, but they definitely were doing their homework. There's no two ways about it. And you can see what's interesting is I was thinking about
that top panel there. It's very Frazetta.
Yeah. When I was mentally kind of like chopping up what I was going to do here, I remembered that, funny enough, when I got into comic books, I actually became aware of Al Williamson first in terms of comic work and collecting like art books. I had seen Frank's work as a kid, but Williamson was the first that I actually picked up an art book of, which was the Flash Gordon reprints that I don't know, maybe Dark Horse or Topps or something did in the 90s.
Yeah, I was drawn to that cover because they always use that same wide shot with Flash up on the rock, like looking off to the city off to the side or whatever, and man, that always got my attention.
What's interesting about this work is how beautifully drawn the figures are. There's very little stiffness in any of these drawings, which is really incredible at this age that he had already eliminated that. That's incredible, in fact.
Well, and also his shot variety. I mean, there's not necessarily great visual storytelling going on here, because that takes probably a little more practice. But for a 20-year-old to be pulling back, pushing in, using no panels, open panels, this is pretty advanced. I didn't get into any. I would draw everything like close up, or too far away.
What's interesting too is so Frank was like grew up in Brooklyn, and in a very fortuitous way, that probably helped him get into publishing, because if you lived in the Midwest, you would never have the opportunities, because think about this. So Frank probably had to go into the city to turn this work in. I seriously doubt he was mailing it to them. And so he probably took trips into the city, once or twice a week or whenever a job was due. But I'm curious if he had to submit like breakdowns, you know, if editors were like, hey, come in on Monday. I want to see all the layouts for the pages, and then you can go and work on them. Look at this bottom middle panel with the horse here with its head down. Like, how beautiful of a
gesture.
Yeah, so nice.
Everything kind of folds in that direction. Now, I'm not sure. That's really fascinating. Maybe that's why the bullpen and how cut and pasted a lot of that old art looks is because they were just cranking out 5 pages a day, and they would get them in the office, and then, this doesn't work, move this, shrink this, maybe that's just, it was all after the fact. Maybe the layouts weren't, they didn't have that luxury.
Right. Yeah. These layouts are great, though. I like everything I see. Obviously Frank got better and better, but this is good shit. This first panel I actually think is really interesting. I love the negative space in it. It's funny too because the horse is running a weird direction. He's like heading. There's two. There's a little silhouette of one right here. But they're kind of running towards this bluff or road right here. It's very.
Yeah, funny. I'm not sure. It almost looks like there's like a barrier to another world that they're coming out of. That blue wall. What is that? Sometimes I'm not looking at that right. I don't think.
Yeah. So we'll just do so this is the last one, and then we're gonna get into other work. But I'll be honest, I don't think that I had ever seen these pages before. So this is actually the first time that I've ever seen these.
That almost looks Kirby. That top left panel.
So I never knew, and I heard this within the last probably 6 months to a year. I had never ever heard any sort of reference or connection between Frank and Jack Kirby, but apparently Frank
this page is full of it.
No, what's interesting though is Frank actually liked Jack Kirby's art. I heard that from a direct source that he thought that Kirby was actually an excellent artist. So that I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But that was a really kind of fun, exciting thing for me to hear, because you just, with someone like Frank, you go like, God, who was he into? Apparently, as Frank got older, I want to say it was Doc Dave Winowitz, which was a close friend of Frank's. They would bring books to Frank whenever they would visit, like art books. A couple of people would do this, and he really liked Jeff Jones. He liked Jeff Jones' art a lot, and even
that was much later, right? Of course, but
sure.
I'm curious now. This is really fascinating to me because I was trying to think of who else had that kind of dynamism.
Right
at the time, maybe, huh?
Oh, this is 1948. So
Jack Kirby, he was getting into that. Obviously, because look at that pose. That's to me that looks right out of
this right here,
Captain America or something. So it's interesting that Frank picked up on that, because Frank to me has always been one that has great dynamism, movement and dynamics in his posing. And that would be fascinating if that came originally from Jack Kirby. That's really interesting.
I want to say a quick hello to someone in the chat. Mike Christian is here. So Mike Christian, I credit as the person who helped me get into professional comics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Mike. I met Mike through.
So it's all your fault, Mike.
I know. So I met Mike kind of through like the local music scene. Somehow I don't really remember exactly how we met, but we were both long-haired sort of rocker, grunge punkers, and I found out that he did comics, and I had just started getting into comics. And Mike gave me my first sample pages to ink. He saw the horrible reproductions that I did of my inks for my first set of pages, and was nice enough to say, okay, we need to get you using some professional tools, buddy. So now let's.
Awesome. Good work, Mike.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back into StreamYard because I think I need to share a different screen. So I'm going to go back to you and I really quick first.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna open Photoshop, and then we're gonna start dragging stuff into Photoshop. So just give me one sec here. But yeah, this is gonna be fun. And one thing that I did try to do is avoid stuff that we've looked at a million times. I thought it would be funner to, like, we don't necessarily in this video need to look at Death Dealer, you know. So hopefully that's cool for everyone. So do you want to see? I'll give you a choice. Can you hear me? Oh, did I lose Kelsey? I think I lost Kelsey. Give me one sec. Kelsey might, he had a hurricane where he was, so I may have to re-add him. Let's wait 1 second. Yeah, no problem, Mike. Thank you for your generosity. There's Kelsey. Yeah, no problem, Mike. Thank you for your generosity to a young aspiring artist. I still play it forward to this day, and in fact, it was funny. I did a an inking lesson yesterday for someone who's pretty much where I was. He's a little better actually than I was when I first started, and I kind of shared the story of how crazy my first sample pages were that I did.
Oh man,
Kelsey, I had bad photocopies, and I literally replicated the bad photocopy like smears in ink with a tech pen. That's how crazy I was. Like literally, like if there was like distortion from the photocopy, I went in and like stippled it.
That's crazy. But hey, I mean, that could have led into like, you know, some technique that everybody's like, where does this come from? What was Rich thinking? And you're like, I was trying to duplicate photocopies.
you've seen my black drawing work. I mean, it's like the psychosis continued on for many years. Okay, so now we have choices. So we can do Canaveral Press. We can do Doubleday. We can do. I don't have a ton of Johnny Comet open. I have some Lil Abner. I have Lord of the Rings. I have magazine and book covers. Pen and Ink Mastery, Pinup Girls and Romance, or Prints and Remarkings.
Well, I heard I love his pen and ink stuff, and I had read somewhere that he was quite fond of that. If not, that might be some of his favorite stuff, which is really interesting. It's similar to what I heard like Beasley say, that he'd prefer to do just pen and ink, black, you know, design kind of stuff like Kirby. But
yeah, Frank said you know, the oil paintings were work. That felt like work. They felt more important when he went into them. There was a more serious sort of feeling going into them. But he really enjoyed watercolor. He liked doing funny animal art.
That's so bizarre to me, because the painting to me feels like fun, and like inking, it takes so much concentration from it's like totally the opposite.
Yeah. So let's do, okay, so I prefer, this is interesting because there's in the Frazetta Painting with Fire documentary, it's a real famous art museum, but his son is in the thing, and he was saying that he prefers the Doubleday illustrations over the Canaveral prints. The Canaveral are the very, very detailed pen and ink pieces. The Doubleday, you'll see a very, very heavy influence on people like Mike Plug and Mignola. So I say,
is that the stuff that's more like pen and ink with like a watercolor kind of painting stuff?
Well, you'll see. I'll open up
Plug.
Yeah. Okay. So let me. I'm gonna open them real quick, and then I'll share the screen again. So we're gonna go Doubleday.
Like a lot of his like funny girly art, where it's like the pen and ink, but it has like a watercolory painting. I love that stuff.
Okay, so I'm going to go into share screen again. Or I guess I am still sharing screen. So do I go to?
Well, you just the two down there. You'll see it says, you know, you'll see the little icon down there by us. You know, and you can click it to, you know, bring it back up.
Oh,
or stop sharing if you want to share another screen.
Yeah, I have to go into Photoshop now. Okay, so then
so go stop sharing and then share again. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'm
this red light on you is pretty ominous.
It's my curtain. I actually need to tweak that. But okay, so we're going.
I'm a little worried.
Okay, so this may or may not be a Doubleday piece. I'm not 100% sure. It's in the folder, but yeah, and I have
smoke.
Like I said, I was telling Kelsey, I have somewhere between 40 and 50 gigs of Frazetta saved that I've hoarded over the last like 20 years. I'm on it.
I love the way the smoke just like wisps and folds around and twists, and it's so alive.
It's just beautiful. Oh man,
this is smoke is kind of like where you do your contour drawing, almost, where you just kind of like see, let it happen and then
Right.
correct afterwards. But I would bet he did that straight to ink.
Yeah, I think so too. He's got beautiful forms in it too. I mean, you can really actually feel a three-dimensionality and even perspective. There's overlapping, there's receding shapes and stuff like that, and then the figure is just beautiful.
So those speed lines behind it that are relatively straight, there's some crooked ones in there, but you think he's just doing that pretty fast, right?
Yeah. It's hard to say what the size of this piece is. It might be, like 8.5 by 11. It could be a little bit bigger. I don't really know.
75 is when he has the date on his. I guess it was printed in 77, but he drew it in 75. That's when I was born, 1975.
Well, there you go.
He was drawing masterpieces when Does he have nipple rings? Is that what I'm seeing right there?
It looks like I think it's a necklace, like pieces of that are sort of just like the light is kind of blowing it out.
Yeah.
Man, this is so freaking good.
Now, would you this is a lot of mark making, to get value and shadow and all this stuff. I mean, how long he's fast, right? Like how
right. I mean,
how long do you think that piece took? Just that. I mean, it's relatively simple.
2 hours, maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours. I mean, last night Kenneth Rocafort was on Dan's Fragtober.
I know. I need to go watch that.
He knocked out a piece in like 45 minutes. I mean, you have to understand. I mean, so 1975, Frank had been drawing professionally for. I mean, if you just go back to 48, that's what 27 years. Yeah. He knows what he's doing at this point. So it's like, you know what I mean? This could have took less than an hour.
That sucks because like I've been drawing for close to that professionally, but and I could do a piece in 2 hours, but it ain't going to be. He just has such a mastery of the anatomy. Did he go to school for that?
He took some art lessons as a kid from a guy named Flangia. Like I forgot his first name. I was trying to remember before I started, but someone might say it in the comments section below. So apparently what Frank was saying is that they were actually going to kind of send him over to Italy to sort of complete his like artistic training. This is when Frank is probably somewhere between I'll say 9 and 13 years old. And then the guy passed away. And so Frank at that point just kind of went back to, his normal life. But he was taking some painting and drawing classes as a kid and was apparently quite good.
Well, because he's got a lot of really specific stuff. Some things I've stolen directly from the way he does it, like is the vein that comes across the arm. He does that a lot. I picked that up. So I don't know that. I don't know that from anatomy lessons. I know that from Frank Frazetta. I figured his is close enough. I can just copy his and it'll work. That is great,
man. So this is considered the Doubleday pieces. I don't know if this is necessarily considered a Doubleday print, but in my eyes, this is the Doubleday style. The Doubleday style is a little cartoony. It's a little bloopy. It's simplistic in a way, but it's got very warm blacks with a little bit of line work that really works beautifully together.
So for comic book guys or gals, comic book people, do you find that this stuff is probably more influential than like the painted stuff, or do you think we kind of take it all together?
I think it's difficult for most people to port over what he does in his paintings. You'd have to be a pretty good just drafts person to bring the figure drawing from the paintings into, I think, a traditional like just pencil drawing. But I mean, it could be done.
This is so good. You're surprising me here. I've never seen this one actually.
Oh, okay.
I really like this piece.
I swear to God, Kelsey, I'm not even exaggerating. I could probably do a 30 or 40 hour video on. I have so much art.
I can't wait. Get started.
What's interesting, and for a long time, I felt like I had seen everything that he had done. Both the Frazetta Museum and the Frazetta Girls have actually been breaking out little bits and pieces, and other people online are breaking out like little maybe things that he did for the movies that maybe they couldn't because of copyright, like show them in the books. But I would say in the last like 3 to 5 years, I've seen more quote unquote new Frazetta that I hadn't seen than in the previous 10 years.
Here's an inking question. Anton Dennison brings up the ink work has a painterly quality. And
Right.
I recently heard someone talking about someone else's ink work where they had this kind of wash quality to the blacks.
Right.
And they were complaining that, no, that should be straight black. They're tired of all that washy stuff. And
Yeah,
I was
that was Ethan said that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's funny is because it hit me because I was starting to do that. I kind of like that, even though it doesn't really show up in the
He was talking about Mignola. He was talking about Mignola, and Mignola has the washy inks like this. You know, I mean, it's just a different style. I mean, I think, you know, some people look. I love 90s comic book art. I fucking love it, but I love this too. But to me, you know, I mean, you can blend the two. Jim Lee, when he inks himself, I had showed recently a black and white coup d'etat page that he had penciled and inked himself. He did the full comic. If you look up Jim Lee coup d'etat, which looks like coup d'etat, that's what I call it. Coup d'etat. But Jim inked himself on it, and he uses more of this kind of approach. It's not necessarily watery ink, but it has that vibe a little bit. It's just
I gotta see that. That's fun.
It's really good. I have black and white copies, so this is very small, unfortunately. But look at the little beautiful drawing.
Man, it's so good. The shadow defining the landscape that you know, the thing is jumping over. That's all it is just splotches of ink. You know?
I like this hand. It's the comic book hand. You have to know that hand.
Oh, I do that a lot. That hand.
Like, she's scared. Her hand is like this. He's aggressive. His hand is like this.
Well, there's the Wrightson hand, which is like, you know, all knuckly and, you know, there it is. It's like, and then then Frazetta, you know, flail.
This is the turn of this guy's body is awesome too. He's kind of got that nice sideways like kind of tilt to it, and he
does that quite a bit. That contrapposto kind of, you know, twist. Oh yeah,
let's see a little bit better.
Well, even the forearm dude, I forget those guys' names. I wasn't a John Carter guy,
right?
But the forearm dude, how he's leaning back as the beast is jumping forward, it really gives a lot of movement to that.
Right. Yeah. It's an exciting silhouette. This whole, I mean, it's very snaky. It kind of like it's a very stretched out S curve, and then you've got another S curve here and an S curve here. But you know, I mean, Frank is just instinctively.
Wait. Well, what was great about that piece is that everything had a right to left perspective, but the shape of everything was pointing right to John Carter and Woman. So
this is interesting. I never realized. So these little pieces right here, this is from a paperback book. So these are little spot illustrations actually inside of the book, because I can see text on the other side of the paper.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure what size Frank did these.
Yeah,
I don't think that they would be real big.
Well, this was in a time period where they were doing it twice up too, right?
You know what? You could be right. Right.
But I don't know. This looks like a little spot illustration. I would guess probably, you know, around 8.5 by 11 kind of size.
Right. It's so good.
I don't know, maybe.
Man,
you could kind of tell by the mark making. They're kind of thicker lines, and there's less feathering and detail. So
right, a beautiful little piece.
Such clean silhouettes too, like you were saying. He has a very strong command of the silhouette. So.
Here's another one. I mean, imagine we joke and kind of talk about stuff like, oh, what if Kirby lived today? What if John Buscema was alive today? Frank too. Can you imagine Frank's Instagram if he was like 30 years old and he was on Instagram? Fuck, dude, it would be insane.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, or would people go, man, that's so old hat, you know, like
he draws too good.
Or what, you know, it's good, but it's no Gary Frank, you know.
Right. It's possible.
It's pretty good, but you know, Madureira is so much better.
Well, I think what happens now too is that if you're unique and doing something kind of like special, that people may emulate it faster.
Yeah.
So this is from 75 also. 1975, dude was doing some really great stuff.
It's like a fingerprint, you know, the way he's doing that texture.
Right.
Yeah,
man, he's such shapely girls. It's so funny.
That smoke drawing you.
Yeah.
In, you know, the just all the composition, like how. I mean, obviously he's got. Maybe he's eyeballing this, but like, where do you think composition for him? Like, is it? I don't know anything about composition. I just kind of eyeball it, and
I do too. I've learned to explain it, which makes me, I think, sometimes come across like I actually care about that stuff. I have the ability to step back and be able to like reverse engineer stuff. But I've always relied more on instinct, which was very problematic. It's the reason that it took me 20 years to kind of break through. Is I had to literally just start from scratch and go like, okay, you've got all these natural muscles and observation skills and finishing ability, but you have no fucking fundamentals. You have no structure. When you get stuck, you completely derail. And so it's like I had to relearn everything. And it took, like 8 years. It's a combination of you're learning and you're breaking bad habits. It'd be like, you know what I mean? Like anything.
I bet he's much more in the instinct realm,
sure.
Where he's just kind of like a little bit more this way, Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, like, did he pencil this a little bit first? It's very, very difficult. This is, I generally, like, obviously I try to find RGB scans where you can see like what possibly went down first. I mean, I've even seen Frank use blue pencil on pieces when you see color scans. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, occasionally you'll see a little bit of blue pencil or like, some sort of, whatever, like red or.
That's a great ass. And I was trying to think of a nicer way to say that.
So is there a G string under that, or is that just a nude butt?
Well, I know what I'd like to think, my fantasy.
I'm guessing she's wearing like little bikini things. If you it down, there's probably something there.
But I love how she's largely a negative in the silhouette of, shadow of the bird thing or the pterodactyl. It's really great.
Yeah. So Kelsey had asked me as we were preparing for this, like, what did I think? Like, when did Frank work? What was his day like? Because he's very famous for enjoying life, enjoying spending time with his family.
Baseball. Loved hanging out with the gang.
Right, and he in a weird way, he actually kind of like sort of downplays how serious he was about his art. Him and Ralph Bakshi talk about it in the thing, and Ralph says, "Look, Frank, you say that, but it's like your art was very, very serious to you." And my theory is that if Frank was on a deadline, then he would probably work more normal hours to some extent, although he probably did work through the night many times. But I think a lot of this stuff, my speculation is like he would throw on a baseball game at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and then just probably work until, 1, 2 in the morning, something like that.
Well, I remember, the very famous story about him breaking his hand and then no, that was a different story. There was a story where I keep wanting to say Roz. What was his wife's name?
Ellie.
Ellie was seeing him struggle over a piece where he couldn't get this figure right, and then she woke up the next morning and it was like all done. Like he just stayed up and just did it. So it makes me wonder what his sleep schedule is like. Did he go to sleep at 6 in the morning?
Yeah, he would burn himself out, and then they would say he would have to. I think it's just a little bit of an exaggeration, but like his son says in the documentary that he would lay on the couch for like 4 or 5 days, like recovering.
They might be like my dad is an arc welder, in construction, and it's funny because I'm so far removed from that, but our work, oddly enough, is very similar, where we'll go and do these intense periods of like a couple of months, work. Yeah. And then you kind of take like a week off, and just get things done around the house and go get all things done. So maybe,
This is a Kubla Khan piece. There's a series of pieces that he did of Kubla Khan.
I always think of, when I hear Kubla Khan, I think of
Rush?
No, I was thinking of Oh, what the hell is that movie with the
Conan?
no,
Jerry
no.
Lopez, the surfer? I think it was Jerry Lopez. Like,
Uh,
like the Wrath of Khan? Flash Gordon.
No, man, you're like making it harder on me.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on, I'll be right back. I'll tell you.
Don't Google it. Don't you dare. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, we're gonna keep going. We have so much to look at. I have a whole folder of like 100 detailed shots of his paintings that are gonna be so drool worthy. I love this piece, and I love this. Well, I don't know. Is this considered a lion or a tiger?
All right, this is gonna drive me crazy. Citizen Kane.
Oh, Citizen Kane. Okay.
I know it's a weird reference, but he said Mike Kubel Khan or something like that, and I never knew what the hell that meant. So
look at all the legs on this cat. He's so cool.
Is this another John Carter thing?
Yeah.
This is that thing that ran really fast. That face is so intense.
So this face to me is Frazetta pissed off, and you'll see it again and again and again in his work. But I really do feel like there's something in the eyes and this little area right here that is Frank. It's a side of Frank.
Do you do that? Do you like when you're getting into it? You're like, and like trying to get that. Yeah. I bet he was doing that.
Yeah. No, I draw with a lot of emotion, and if I don't, my stuff sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's that contrapposto kind of like twist again, but from a different angle.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, that's why my comic work will be stiff and kind of struggle for a while, because I'm still more math than English, and what I mean by that is it's more it's more like I'm trying to like do calculations than actually just like speak eloquently, and so it'll take a year or two for me to work that out. But
well, when you get into that rhythm where you're not worried about you're not trying to get proportions and you're just everything's just flowing out, then then you're just like
exactly. So it's exciting because I look forward to that. Oh, I love this piece. So fucking cool.
Oh, wow.
Aren't these great? I swear, I think like when you see the Canaveral stuff is very, very impressive. These have a clarity and sort of just a casualness to them that I think is very charming.
I love the simplicity of her figure.
Like face too.
I know this is going to sound perverted, but what else is new? It's me. But her boobs have like weight to them and volume in such a simple way, and it's such a tiny drawing.
Yeah. They have weight. I mean, you can see that's like fat under the skin. That's like
it's just a subtle bit of shadow. I think a lot of people go overboard with shadow, myself included, but he seems to blow it out so that the shadow is right on the very edge of something, and it's a very hard edge.
Yeah.
Probably where Mignola gets hit.
Oh, for sure. And this is cute too.
Oh, wow. Again with the boobs. Look at the weight.
That's really nice.
And the hips and everything, and the weight of what are those what is that called? The cloth on the leggings. What are they called? Chaps. Like chaps.
Yeah. So this is from 1981. So this is about 6 years later. It's a very, very nice little piece.
How old was he then? He was kind of like winding down. It's a much looser.
He would have been 54. Am I doing the math right? 28. Yeah, 50. Wait.
Yeah, 50. I'm just wondering if he was
47 or 48.
Was he like kind of relaxing a bit, slowing down? Did he do any great work at that age?
Frank worked very well up until about 7 years, around 1987 or 98. I'm gonna guess. What was the last piece? It was 81. Around probably 1988, I think he started having strokes. No, it might have been in the 90s. He got real sick. He had a thyroid condition, and
look at the horse.
Yeah, it fucked him up pretty good, and then he started having strokes. And
look at the eyes on that horse. I'm laughing at not the strokes, but that horse.
No. I know. Yeah, look. You always laugh at strokes, Kelsey. You're such an ass.
I'm a very horrible person, but the eyes on that are.
look at the boots, like how he drew the boots. It was so good, man.
This is something I'm trying to get, is his metal etch work.
Right.
I know it's just some doodles, but when I try to do those doodles, they just look like little doodles. His looks like etching in metal.
Right. Well, if you look, I mean, like at her bikini bottom here, there's foreshortening going on. These scales get smaller as they wrap around from us, and also the shadows get deeper. There was a few
overlap too.
This too. Travis is really good at this. It was funny. There was a shield that I saw that looked very similar to something that he did for a piece. It was a Crimson pinup or source book piece that he had done one time. This is nice too. I'm telling you, dude, this guy would have crushed it on Instagram. He probably would have had 50,000 subs. No.
Atomic Bulldog Art says skull in the nose. That horse with the nostrils, and it did kind of look like a skull.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, look how simple and swooshy this is. Whoosh.
It's interesting. This is the rendering right here. It's very hatchy, like the shadow.
You think that's just like, I got this tool out, I don't want to have to dry it off and go get the brush and
he might have fucked up the leg and just hatched it out.
Oh, yeah.
It's possible. I mean, I'm not saying he did, but you know what I mean. Like,
I do that stuff, so yeah. Well, I mean, he's not above that. I'm sure he's. But oh wow, look at this right at the bottom of the cape, or see that little squiggle that looks like Drew Struzan's.
Oh right, his signature. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny that you brought up Struzan. So the cover that they want me to do for the heavy metal book that I'm doing, they want me to actually do it in a Struzan style. Someone else is going to color it, but they actually want me to pencil it in a Struzan style. So it's actually very funny that I was sort of refreshing my Struzan muscle just to. I mean, they want not a photo reference drawing, but they want the rendering style of Struzan.
It's a lot of mark making.
Yeah, and it's a lot of very stylish lines. I like the challenge though. I think that'll be fun. It's something.
But looking at this stuff might actually help, because there's the bits of he's using it more sparingly, so he's not spending all his time drawing a bunch of lines. You know,
what a fun look at this looks like a guy having fun drawing. That's someone that can draw really good too. But what a fun little just moment. You know, it's so cool.
I would have to sketch out every one of those poses, and he's just whipping it out, I'm sure. And the back muscles and everything when they're tensing up, when they're relaxing, I mean, it's so effortless. But
I know
this is
Dude, this is his old signature. You'll see different iterations of his signature, and in fact, his name is not spelled the way that he spells it. It's he dropped
the H.
It's Frazetta. It was Frazzetta, and he dropped, I think, one of the Z's.
Sky Marshal Mars says Frazetta always did the action in progress, whereas almost everyone else did a pose or before and after action. Yeah.
Look at this little drawing. Again, I mean, these are just knockout ideas. They're really great little drawings. Any one of these could have been a painting that we would have all just gone bananas for.
See, this is my favorite kind of stuff, where they'll have, and Mignola's really good about this, where they'll make like a little scene or a proscenium, like a setting for the action. Whereas I came in the 90s where the figure took command. Your figure was huge, and the setting didn't really matter as much. So
oh man, this is so cool.
I'd like to see a combination of this and that typical 90s style, pull back, have more emphasis on setting,
right?
That kind of fun, dynamic, cleaner line art.
Yeah, this little object right here is very, very cool. The motor or whatever it is, the rudder.
Yeah, his organic spaceships are always fun. It's very old.
Oh, look at this. This is kick-ass. I haven't seen this in a long time. This is similar to, it's almost like he took some of the ideas from other pieces that he had done, but did a new scene with it. But man, this piece is so kick-ass. It is so, so good.
The texture, he's really appropriate where applying texture, a little bit of moss there, the hair, and each one kind of reads.
You really feel the Mignola.
Yeah. And that face. Yeah, I'm gonna eat you.
Yeah. I don't know if Mike Mignola, if he watches YouTube, but if he ever came across this video, I think he would get a kick out of it. I think he would really enjoy this.
He's probably like, seen it.
No, like, dude, if you're a fan of someone and someone talks about them, you're just like, oh yeah. Okay, so then we're gonna do the Canaveral pieces next, because the Canaveral are the more strokey ones, and you'll see the difference of them.
Do you think that was editorial? The particular art director of Canaveral was like, I like this stuff more, or do you think it's because of the subject matter that Frank was doing?
It's a difficult. I would only be guessing. I think Frank was into it. From what most people will say is that Frank, once Frank got rolling, he was kind of like, well, you know how that goes, though.
In that time period, art directors had a lot of control over, what you kind of have to step up to the plate of what they're looking for.
Sure.
In some ways, it's still that way, but
these pieces are beautiful. So we'll focus on this one on the left first, and then
it's a little more brush. Still a ton of pen, but you can see he's brushing in these blacks.
I have a friend who owns a piece that's similar to these Canaveral pieces. I've seen it in person, and it is really, really beautiful. But it has a little bit of the watered down ink.
How big were the ones you were looking at?
It was about 12 by 16.
Oh, okay. So a little bigger than we're used to working on.
Right. Yeah.
Border, right. It's probably got a pretty decent border around it, or.
Yeah.
Okay.
It may pop up in these things. I'll show you which piece it is if I see it.
I really want to work big again. Like, I want to get big with the paper and stuff, but how do you scan that in? They used to do. They would photo this stuff back.
Yeah. And look at this thing. Man, it's so good.
Look
at this.
He's really good at the thin, leathery drapery. That kind of like, his skin. The skin looks thin, so you can see the sinew and the rippling of the muscles.
So these were done before the Doubleday. This is published in 68. So these could have been drawn in, say, 67, early 68, maybe. And then the other ones that we just had looked at were about 7 years later. Man,
so good creature design. Everybody gives, credit to, guys like, Jack Kirby for his monster design, and, Plug and, guys like that. But I mean, look at Frazetta, like whipping out these great monsters.
The hands and wrist on this monkey creature or whatever it is, they're so powerful.
That's another thing I got from Frazetta is this bone line from your elbow. Will go. There's a line that goes.
I'll have a better scan of this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a better scan of this, so we'll come back to this piece later.
He does this a lot, where you'll see this line come from this muscle, and you can see it kind of like if I had any muscles.
Right.
Going to this wrist bone right here, this little knot. Yeah, and he's really right there. That's a great example. He does that.
Yeah, you can see him on these. So
I just straight up stole that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we learn to draw a simple arm first with all the structure, and then we learn all the nuances. That's just how you accumulate information and kind of ramp up your stuff as you move along.
Here's an example of Frazetta ripping himself off. Both of these pieces ended up in paintings.
Oh, okay.
That monster on the left in front of her is coming out of like water or something in another painting. I'm pretty sure. And then that shot of the dude getting wrapped up by
this right here,
that's in a painting as well.
Hey, if you've got it,
thinking wrong, but that's
yeah.
Do you ever think about that, like reusing your own kind of stuff?
Well, we talked about the cape incident. We won't talk about who the artist. No.
Private joke.
Right. No. Well, actually, James will know what I'm talking about. My friend James, was the first person that I showed him. I was like, look at this shit. This guy's doing the same cape over and over and over again.
Just know when Richard is posting that gif of the guy slinging the red cape around, there's meaning behind that.
That's the magic cape. But not for me, honestly. Like I'm still sold on the Travis approach, which is just I want to draw out of my head, and it's the Frazetta approach too. I know that Frank did use reference, so I'm not saying that Frank never used reference, but that's my goal. Is I just always want to be able to sit down and just knock out stuff, and it's a stubbornness within me, but it's just very important
for me. You get a muscle memory going. You keep doing the same, and how things work. And he probably had a really good muscle memory built up for muscles.
But to be clear too, for people trying to learn, use reference, learn how to draw things properly, and then wean yourself off of it. There's no shame in using reference. You should until you can draw stuff.
Estelle Freeze told me once, I was like, should I go get a photo of a tree to draw? And he's like, it's much easier to design a tree when looking at a tree than to think of how a tree should be designed, because it'll come out more realistic and better, and you'll be able to see the shapes a lot more clearly. But that could also be stiffening. Do you think Frank ever brought in any live subjects for any of the work he's done?
You can find he did take some figure drawing classes later in his life. I almost think he did it more just for like a lark, and he would use Ellie as a model, one himself and friends, as people have said. I think worst case scenario, Frank loved cameras, so he probably, there's a real famous picture of him where he's kind of reeling back like he's going to take a punch and or punch someone. It's almost like a block stance. And he's wearing like little white shorts. That's actually him fully nude in like the yard, posing for something that he needed to draw. And either probably his wife or someone took the photo for him. But he painted shorts on himself for the Painting Fire documentary. But he was actually naked.
All the neighbors are like, "Oh, Jesus, Frank's out in the yard again."
He's got a deadline. He's like,
that guy never has clothes on. My God.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm sure if he didn't know how to draw something, I mean, at this point, I think he was.
Hey, if I looked like Frank, I'd never have clothes on either.
I know, right? I would never wear a shirt. That's for sure. I'd be shirtless right now.
Oh man, so dynamic, and the line art here, doing this kind of rendering. This is something you probably don't do really fast, right? Or do you? I mean, because none of the feathering really crosses each other, which to me takes patience.
I can't imagine these would have had to take a few hours. There's no. This seems like I think he could. Well, he might be able to lay out a piece like this in 30 minutes to an hour, and then I don't know how long it would take for him to ink it. I would say 3 to 4 hours. So maybe he could do one of these in 3 to 6 hours.
There's some discussion about reference going on now. I think, it's good to use reference for certain things. Like if you have to draw a certain car, it's probably good to just reference that car than to fake it. But you don't want to be too slavish to reference that your stuff is like super stiff, and this is freaking killer, man. It's so alive. You
don't want it to look like you use like the cutout tool, or you know what I mean, like in Photoshop where it's just like shape based. There's a couple of artists that worked in comics that would use early versions of Photoshop or kind of a thing like that. You'll ultimately limit the poses that you can do, because the unfortunate thing about even really good photo reference is there's photo distortion. The perspective doesn't work in drawings. And so unless you can draw out of it, you're going to be really, really limited on the shots that you can use. It's why you see so many people that will do portraits, but they kind of avoid figures and stuff. It's
like, for me, it's for information. Like, I'm not trying to copy the exact perspective or anything, but like when you look at reference of a car, for instance, you're going to see a lot of little details that you probably wouldn't remember, blinker lights on the side, the little plastic rim or line that goes down the side, or little things like that. When you're just looking at a piece of reference, you're like, oh yeah, let me add that little bit,
This isn't a great scan of it, but this is one that Doc Dave Winowitz, I'm nearly sure he was either talking about it, but it's the Sabertooth Cat is like fighting these, I guess they're pterodactyls.
Yeah.
And boy, the look on this cat's face is like I'm gonna kill you, but it looks terrified at the same time.
Yeah.
And look at this. This thing just looks so creepy. Man, the face on that pterodactyl is so disturbing.
It looks like the eye is like looking back at you.
It does. Yeah. It's like I'm gonna eat this cat. You're gonna watch
coming for you.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, like it is almost like you. Well, they talk about that in the Frazetta documentary too. It feels like you walked in on a scene happening right in front of you, and it's like like not a stop piece of film, but like it's just like the height of.
But again, this composition, he's got foreground, middle ground, background. They're all kind of forming this circular path. Look at how that one wing comes forward and it's shadowed out against the light hitting the wing in the background. It's just perfectly executed.
His control of value is ridiculous. It's so nice.
It's not easy to do in ink,
It's interesting. So I wasn't seeing that this is the head of another pterodactyl. I kept wondering what this was, but it's biting his leg right here.
Yeah. That's why he's freaking out. He's like, ow!
Yeah, he's like, Jesus shit. What the fuck? Like, it's like trying to get some sun. This is cool. This is not, I don't think that this is, this is 64. I'm not 100% sure if this is considered a canaveral print. It's a little, it has more of a sketch vibe to me if you see a good scan of it.
It's real light, yeah. Those solid blacks.
Right.
Little spot pieces here and there. But again, the composition, I love how like there's that one cat getting thrown way up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Or is he jumping down? No, I think he got thrown over by
he got chucked. Yeah, he got flung up in the air. But he did some really beautiful, like everything. Like, look, let me grab a brush. He's got these really nice. Oh, of course, I'm on a super light thing. Let me grab a color that we can see. I won't do a lot of this, but he has these great shapes pulling you in everywhere that all lead you to this thing. You know what I mean? Like everything is like, if there was another one here, it would be doing this. If it was here, it'd be this, or maybe a reverse of it, or one here. You know what I mean? Like,
I think he's just kind of doing that on the fly as he's sketching it out. He's like, maybe one coming in this way, maybe one coming in.
He probably drew this and a couple of the cats and maybe even had this one in. And then as he was building more into it, he just used that sort of idea. I love this ledge of grass with the hangy thing on it. Man, it's so cool.
Again, that's like, for me, like I wouldn't have thought to do that unless I saw it in a photo, and I'm like, wow, that would be cool. Let me do that. Give some variety to the foliage.
This is a nice little. I mean, he has so many of these little drawings like this, where it's just like you picture him just going like, I'll just do a doodle, and then he does something like this. That what was it for? I mean, there's other pieces that are similar to this that he did. I mean, it could have been somewhat of a prelim for something, but man, what a nice little drawing.
Do you think he obviously did more than one a day at times? I'm sure, but like this piece, like if I'd done this piece in a few hours, I'd be like, all right, now let me go and like get something to eat and like, and then I might not come back to it. I'd feel so satisfied having done something like this. It'd be like,
it adds up. If you did that for 30 years and were drawing say 200 to 300 like little drawings, I mean, you'd have a pretty significant body of work. So we saw this one already in the thing. And then
I kind of want to see that painting that I'm thinking about, see if I'm thinking about that right.
Oh, and then this is great. This one, you can actually see white ink on it. It's not a great scan of it.
Really?
It did actually go in with white and put a little bit more hatching and detail through here with white paint. It's got
look at the quality of the ink in the deeper shadows. Has kind of that's the white. Actually, given that weird bluish.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you? What was I going to say about this? Oh, never mind. I was trying to think. I had something about this one piece. Oh man, look at how he's using. Okay, this is a different point, but he's doing. I heard that when you, as an artist, you first try to define a character with line. You're trying to figure out the shape, and then as you progress, you're defining that line with value and shadow.
Right.
And I see that here where there's almost no outline work, very, very little down there.
Oh, absolutely right.
It's almost all defined by the value, by the shadows.
Yeah. So much of it is open. He hints at little edges on things, but yeah, overall it's not,
probably because it was getting a little hard to tell when the line work isn't quite as dense. It probably, when you squint your eyes, it just disappears. So maybe add it a little more, but like, yeah, it's
interesting too, is serious as you would have to be to do something like this, there is still kind of a fun and playful quality to the piece where it looks like work, but I kind of get a sense that it was probably kind of fun to do.
Well, I think when you get into that kind of line art, it's almost like you're on the phone and you're just or you're just, like you said, watching a baseball game and just kind of like, this is my day. I'm going to be making these lines all day, so you might as well get into this kind of relaxation state,
I like I had mentioned to you, I'm hoping that at some point that I could get to speak to Frank Jr., his son. And I would be curious of things that I've not heard people ask him about, but I wonder if Frank enjoyed his work, like a piece like that when he was finished, if he could kind of go, man, that's pretty cool. I like it. He seems to like his own work. In the Painting with Fire documentary, there's scenes where he goes through the gallery and he's talking about the pieces, and you do get a sense of pride that he has with them. So here, let's look at a few paintings real quick, and then we'll hop into some other detailed stuff. But let's see what these are.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
A lot of center compositions, a lot of figures right in the middle.
So let's go into full screen mode. I can't remember the name of this piece, but it is actually really cool. It's not probably one of the, like the most cherished ones. This is really interesting. I never really realized that this looks like a surface of water possibly here, or it could be floating smoke. I think it's floating smoke, but there's a weird, creepy, unless that's a path. No.
There's something about these mountains too. The split mountain. I see it a lot, and I've actually done it in a comic book I did, having no previous knowledge of anybody else doing that. I just thought it would be cool, and I'm seeing it everywhere, almost as if it's this thing in our psyche, something about a split mountain like this. I don't know.
You've lived all over the country. I'll tell you what, when my band was on tour and we drove through Colorado, we came from the east going west. And when you enter Colorado and you're driving on the interstate, it's very, very flat at first. And then when I saw are they the Rocky Mountains? What are the mountains there? I
think Rocky Mountains. Yeah.
It was so intimidating and so impressive. And as you're driving up and you realize you have to drive through those mountains, it is fucking scary. It really intimidating, man. A mountain, that is not something you want to fuck with. I'll tell you what, man, it's no joke. It's sick.
Yeah,
all right,
stuff.
So Frank he's into power, there's a powerful quality. His symbolism is all based on, just larger than life ideas, larger than life characters, and just as an intensity to it,
I love this. He's getting this washy texture to the using lots of turpentine, I guess, in oil painting.
Yeah.
And swirling it around, but on the figure, it's super sharp. Your eye goes right to him.
The Frazetta girls have been posting some really nice details. So, once we move through a little bit more stuff, I'm going to pull those up. But those will be really fun to look at. But they do real tight shots of this stuff. So
you can right on his leg, you can see like some little tiny droplets, like where he drops a little bit of turpentine to add some little dots. Right on his, it's like just a tiny little bit of texture there.
So cool.
Maybe he has some skin issues right there.
there's a funny well go ahead.
Oh, well, here's what I was talking about, having the blue and purple and greens and the skin tones. He's a master at that.
Yeah. So Kaluta, it tells a funny story of when he was a kid, and it's him writes in, Dave Stevens are sitting at a table, and I was staring at the book cover for so long, and I was trying to figure this a very weird proportion. But he goes, I thought the printing dots were like the technique that he was doing, because he said he looked so close he could see the little dots, and he goes, he did it with dots.
Look at that almost looks like a repaint of the head, and he couldn't match the color.
Yeah, well, and also the size of the head is weird. It's very big for the body.
It's like a cutout been pasted on there almost.
Yeah. And this is very like his death deal. He talked about there were a few pieces that he did where there was pressure for him to sort of recapture sort of like the key Conan pieces or Death Dealer, and he said that they never worked. And this could be one of those pieces that just is like that, where he was trying to combine ideas from other paintings into it, and ultimately it just was like a dead end for him. I get that vibe, because this is very reminiscent of some of the other pieces. The color palette is from the first Conan painting, and you know what? I never really put it together, but I would almost bet money that this is one. This head almost looks like it's from a different painting too. In fact, this is a very cool piece. I have details of this piece for sure.
This one's one of my fave. I mean,
is it? Very cool.
Yeah, I just love the dynamics of the guy's body and the way the tree is angled. I don't know. Everything's just got a lot of movement to it.
I'll show the whole thing. I mean, this is clearly supposed to be kind of like a mouth. It almost has a Cthulhu sort of vibe with the tree. Man, it's so fucking cool.
I don't think I've ever seen the brushstrokes in the background there, like behind his foot and stuff. Like there's I've never seen like a scan this good.
Yeah. All this stuff is from online. I mean, I have all the books, but yeah, this is just years and years of any time. I almost have OCD with it too, where it's like if I find a website and there's 4,000 Frazetta images, I will literally go through for hours and save every single one. It's almost sad.
No, that's dedication. I'll say that.
right. But and I mean, it's something that I enjoy, though. I wouldn't do that for everyone, but I'm very I don't know what the fuck.
I'm that way with Michael Golden. I've pretty much grabbed every cover I could find out of quarter bins, and then just rip off the cover, and I've saved. And then years later, I realized who drew the interior, and I was like, "Oh,
right." Man, this is beautiful. This is actually very, very detailed and nuancy for Frank. In fact, this background with all the kind of cracked rock, that's
he's probably another one that was really blown away by that movie. I mean, that scene, I can see that in my head, specifically in the King Kong, the original King Kong. There's this bit where he's in a cave, that's I mean, it's not as dynamic as this, but
right.
You can see all the rock and stuff. He probably was like, "Oh, that would be sweet. I want to paint all that."
Yeah. Look at this right here. That edge. Or I guess, is that like light and a little bit of steam or something? I don't even know what that is. It doesn't really matter. Man, that is so good.
It goes with the angle of the rock and the rock in the background. It's like maybe he's creating these real sweeping.
Well, he's got this.
Yeah.
I knew there would be another one here.
Well, that one angle matches the way the woman's laying on the.
Yeah.
And the snake going across his belly, same.
Yeah.
And at the top, there's a lot of like similar angles here.
That's so good. Again, it's just instinct for Frank. It's not like he was like, I mean, he's trying to play with shapes that'll move you through the piece. But man, God, it's crazy. I'm always so impressed that humans can create stuff like this. It's like sounds stupid. I've been around art for 25 years. It still impresses me that people can do this.
This is what we talk a lot about this behind the scenes, but like just the idea of having no fear, getting back to paper, and like, because all these people did it. There's years and years and years and years of people making greatness just appear on a blank sheet of paper, and like there's no reason we can't achieve this.
Right. Yeah, you don't need to draw it small and then do a thumbnail and kick it into Photoshop and nudge
Right.
it around and then print that out and then lightbox it. Like, holy shit. And look, I'll be honest, I actually think at times Frank did like somehow project things on it. It's like no one's ever talked about that, but there's a couple of pieces where I've seen his prelims and I've seen the finished paintings, and he either was gridding it out and matching the grid to the drawing, and Frank could draw good enough to reproduce it twice. I do 1000% believe that, but there was a small part of me that thinks that he may have at times used like something like that, like an artograph, just to get his sketch onto the canvas, because it's so close to the prelim.
I never liked this creature.
Yeah. You know, you gotta try things. You know what's
I love this piece, but
I don't remember these fish ever being down here. That's very weird. I've seen this piece a million times. I never ever remember this right here.
He added that afterwards, I bet.
That was what always bugged him about this piece, was he was like, it needs like a little school of fish. And this is 66, so this is like literally a year after he did those Canaveral pieces. It's so weird. I like that Frank dates his stuff though, so that we can, for the most part, track when the pieces were done.
I used to get yelled at for not dating my stuff, and I still don't. I really need to get the habit of doing that again, because
oh man, this is great. This is, you know, this is one that's known, but isn't one that pops up in like a top 10 Frazetta thing. But man, this is great. Look how buff this girl's arm is.
You think his lady's posing for this like he posed for his figures?
Could have been. I mean, you know, Ellie's body is very similar to that, so it wouldn't surprise me.
I feel naughty looking at these then.
She's really muscular though. Man, this chick could like literally like knock your head off. You can tell like her arms and even the way that her breasts sit on her body, like this is like a bodybuilder type thing going on here. This is,
you know, if you just look at like the shapes, there's just very simple shapes going on here.
Yeah. Look at this, all this stuff in here and here.
Is that like smoky kind of atmosphere?
There's almost like sort of like a fish like sort of sculpture that's sitting right here. You can see the face right here, and it almost looks like maybe another one right here. But I mean, it's so nice. The suggestion of it actually makes it more interesting. This is really fucking creepy right here.
Some artists are really good about dropping, like when you're doing pen and ink work versions of that, about not drawing certain parts in a way that it looks like smoke and atmosphere kind of wafting in. That's a real trick to like.
Oh, I didn't really notice the wing on her.
Oh yeah,
that sounds. I thought she was sitting on something. I didn't realize that there's a wing. That's wild.
Oh, that's the wing for the other one in the background where you were like, "That's creepy." Is that her wing?
Oh, it could be. So this is another thing that we definitely have to point out. This guy's ass. Dude, that is a very nicely drawn butt, and this right here,
Anna would approve. Yeah.
Right. Oh, Malin, I know he's all about that ass.
Oh, Anna loves them. Malin does too, apparently.
Yeah. This right here is freaking great, man. The skin and the little creases.
Yeah. It's a little creepy. Like you know, like somehow the little wrinkles on it, you know.
Right. Yeah, no, it does. It definitely draws you out. He's got a very muscular touche. His tushy. All right, let's keep going. We got so much good. Oh, I love this.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
What?
Wow.
Get out of town.
I know the girl down in the corner I've seen from other drawings that he's done.
This isn't even a great scan of this either. I hope that we come across another.
Oh, wait. That girl in the bottom is on the Fire and Ice cover.
Oh, okay.
Again, he's like reusing his own stuff. That's hilarious. Hold on, let me go get that.
Yeah. And here's an interesting thing about this piece that I'm noticing right here is normally I see the crop right about. Well, no, that can't be because his signature is there. I feel like when I see this piece normally, it's a little tight of a shot.
Novel cover.
But there's a lot more space right here that I don't remember in the piece. Do you want me to get out of share screen for a second? Did you grab the other thing? I think he's gone. Are you guys having fun checking this out? I'm looking at the chat right now. Yeah, he's got sweet butt cheeks.
I'm remembering it wrong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's a little off.
All right. Like I said, this is not. There's very interesting things about. Well, and here's another funny thing about how weird I am. I actually like sometimes seeing bad scans of paintings or paintings that have been leveled weird, mixed in with all my things, because sometimes I'll notice something in a piece based on the particular reproduction that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So it's like this one's it's a little undersaturated. It's a little dark. It feels a little washed out at the same time too. But within that, I'm seeing things that I wouldn't normally focus on.
Right. I have a Frazetta card set that are kind of washed out. So you see stuff like you're talking about, little details that you're like, oh, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's
that
fun.
Horsehair is kind of weird.
Oh, this
spider webs.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And look, I mean, like, this is so cool. He barely even draws like the back quarters. It's just fading out into the mist.
Yeah. Hey, so, man, you're saving some time and giving atmosphere, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes all these little tricks you do, I think we've talked about this before, these little tricks you do to save time, honestly, plus the piece a little bit, because it makes it more interesting.
This piece is so cool.
Yeah, this is a classic. That arm is freaking amazing. I mean, you can do a whole study of anatomy just on that figure alone. That's crazy.
It's nuts how cool Frank's stuff is. Like, how many cool drawings he did. Paintings.
I just love how there's so much tension in that, but he's also in kind of a repose state, you know, where he's you know, his arms kind of laying on his body, you know, but
man, this guy is so you know what, it's funny, I've never really noticed the horns going back on his helmet before. I'm sure I see it, but it's not like I'm more focused on the figure, but this is actually kind of cool. I like these going back like that. Dude, these guys just look like savages. Man, if they showed up on your shore and were coming at you, you are in big, big trouble.
Do you think a good sword and sorcery book today would do okay?
Drawn like this, I think it would.
Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, like, subject-wise, you know, I mean, this is Vikings, obviously, but like, you know, the fantasy, well, yeah. I mean, sword and sorcery.
Well, yeah, I think it could do good, but you would have had to have created an audience for it already. Meaning that, like, if you just came out of the blue,
for that, yeah,
right. If you came out of the blue and were just like, "Oh, I'm like the fantasy artist," and you didn't have people that were chomping at the bit for your fantasy comic book or art book, then I think it would be harder. There's so much fantasy spot illustrations out there for Magic the Gathering and all that. It's a little bit of an oversaturated market, but you know. Look, if Silvestri came out and finished his Batman project that he'd been working on and said, the next thing that I'm going to do is a Frazetta inspired fantasy book, everyone would be like, take my money now.
You know? I want to see a Don Bluth cartoon version of Frazetta paintings.
This is awesome too. These huge shapes that he used for the apes is so kick-ass. God, look at the gesture on this one right here.
I think a lot of Mignola comes from this.
Yeah.
You know, just the way he's organizing those shadows.
Let me just
oh yeah.
Just for a second.
What are you using for this? Levels?
Oh, I have a shortcut key. I go to I just turn it to grayscale, and then I can mess with the levels on it, but
and this is great because you can kind of see where he wants your eye to look most is the figures, and then the background are all kind of the same value.
Yeah, I mean, you could really lose control of your values. I think in particular where you could overshoot it would be on this guy right here, the Martian looking thing, because it's like he looks fun to draw and he looks fun to paint, and he's also vibrant colors, but he sits in a value range that really isn't that hot, you know.
Well, and the value of the onion domes in the background are the same as the figures, but when you look at the color version, they're a cooler white than that's on the figures. Kind of drops them back.
He is on point, man. That is no joke. That is, you know what? That's actually really incredible. In fact, what he did with the values on this piece, in a way, because
you can kind of still see what's going on even when it's
it's crazy. With these bright colors, you would think that they're so much more hot.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, painting is real because you don't think about doing these big black placements in like painting. But he was not. I've never seen this before ever.
This is. I'm gonna say. I think it's like a eerie or creepy cover.
That is so vicious looking, man.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
That guy's face is a little weird, but it's totally appropriate. It's totally appropriate.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could tell. You could kind of tell that he was sort of struggling with the pose. Like it's like a side view, but it kind of isn't. And
deadlines were coming in.
Shit, yeah, he could have put it off to the last minute and been like, no.
That little bit of streak of cloud going across because you got vertical and horizontal.
Yeah,
adds to the depth there.
Oh,
Death Dealer, is that his name?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what number this one is. This could be Death Dealer 4 or 5, maybe.
That's really interesting that painters like him did. I mean, these were just a series of paintings that he did, and then he licensed them out for various things, or
still to this day.
Yeah, but he did this because he was interested in this character of his own, and kind of make it. It was almost like he was making his own world for himself, and then people were like, "I like that. I want to have my band cover."
He has there's a few original sketches of the Death Dealer. He actually looks a little bit different and not as intimidating. But once he got the hang of it on I probably like Death Dealer 1 painting. Hopefully I have those prelims in here.
Which one was the one with the horse? Is this the first one?
That's the first Death Dealer finished painting. But he had done some other drawings of the Death Dealer. This is interesting. So this is
pretty fast. This one looks like.
Yeah, well, you know what I was going to say is I'm nearly sure that he's gone in and worked on this piece more after this version of it. I could be wrong on that, but I'm nearly sure that there's a different iteration. Next time that I come back to Frazetta, I will make sure to organize that stuff so that we can look at that. The files just weren't labeled in a way where it would have took me 20 hours to put together this video. I just did not have the time right now.
Yeah, so. Lars Larson says this almost has a Corbin vibe. It does.
So this is the fix. This is the new version.
Yeah.
So he actually even changed the pose. This is from '87, but it's crazy, right?
That's interesting. It's almost like the way what's his name, the writer of Conan, was talking about how he had no choice but to write that. He felt like that Conan was like standing over his shoulder with an axe, threatening him, like kill him. Right. Didn't do it. So it's almost like a Death Dealer got into Frazetta's psyche somehow, and he couldn't shake it. So he kept doing these pieces, even redoing the ones like this.
Yeah,
it's like, this is in my head. I got to get it out.
Oh, here's Death Dealer 1.
This is probably the penultimate, other than the Conan image. This is probably the one defining Frazetta piece. What do you think?
Yeah. Frank's favorite piece apparently is Catgirl. That's his favorite piece that he did. But I think that he probably loves many of his pieces. Yeah. But this is like, look at the bottom, how loose it is. It's really interesting. I mean, it's just like swirls of paint, and I didn't want to get into this too much, but the one interesting kind of thing is, so the family had to split up the art after Frank and Ellie both had passed away. And, I can't imagine how difficult it must have been to gauge the value of the art, not just financially, but in terms of like
what it means to each family.
Yeah, like the A-listers, the A+ pieces, the B+ pieces, because they had to be divided evenly between 3 or 4 people. It's like, so if you got the Death Dealer, what's the other person get? They get Conan #1, and then who gets Catgirl? You see what I'm saying? Is like everybody got to pull from one pile, but then
that's very similar to how pencilers and inkers have to split up artwork, because some people will do you get the whole one of this, I'll get the whole of the next one. Sometimes they're like split it up half and half, but it's like who gets this spread and who gets that one,
like is Catgirl worth 2 of these, like 2 level, or
negotiate.
Maybe it's 4. It's like, I really want Catgirl. It's like, okay, well, if you get Catgirl, then I get Death Dealer, but then you're going to throw in these pen and ink pieces, or It honestly, it probably took months, if not a year or two, to probably figure it out. I can't even imagine. It must have been nuts. I would never ask the family that question, though, to be clear. It's none of my business. But as a fan, it is interesting to wonder. Oh, this is the piece that the guy.
Look at that wicked wizard in the back, too, man.
Yeah, he is really cool.
Shadowed out. Yeah, the guy that aped this actually added more ass cheek to that guy because a
little more buttocks. This is one that he.
Oh, yeah, it's a fun one.
He tinkered with this really up until his death, I believe. It was. You can see pictures of Frank when he was quite a bit older, working on this piece left-handed. Actually,
see, I will kind of tinker, but. Honestly, after it sees print, I almost feel like it belongs to the history,
right.
And the people. And that if you go in and this is like the Star Wars thing, you go in and retinker with stuff, and it's like it's just not the same. And I have a problem with like doing, hearing live performances sometimes where they'll change the song, and I'm like, sometimes it's cool, but then other times it's like this is so weird sounding to me, because I'm used to like the original.
I'm gonna open some prelims for you, and these are huge scans. It says on the folder. So
this is always my favorite stuff because you can see how they're thinking about stuff.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get into the details. I'll open more, but we'll look at these real quick first. So
the Lord of the Rings stuff is some of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a watercolor prelim for. I want to say that this is one of the Conan pieces. I apologize for not knowing right off the top of my head, but it's a fantastic little drawing. But so the story behind this, and I don't really know how far reaching it is, but apparently like he would use a set of like Disneyland Mickey Mouse watercolors to do most of these prelims. But the only like weird thing about that story would just be the fact that it's like at some point a watercolor set that was made for kids, you would run out of paint. So I don't know if just go to like Disney World in Orlando and buy more or what. Like,
maybe it's just something. Maybe that's the first one, and it became legend because, like, I remember looking at a photo of Alex Ross painting like Marvels, and he had one of those little metal sets, with just the little cakes, and I was like, "Is that what he's using?" Of course, years later, if he's using gouache, he's using lots of different things, but.
I tell people, I go like literally, like if you show yourself holding a tool one time, like in a photo, there's going to be some guy on Facebook that's a member of a group that's going to go, he works with this. I saw it. And that guy's going to be online way more than you are to ever defend yourself about. You're like, dude, that wasn't even mine. I was like handing it to someone in the photo, but it's like, that's the way that it goes when you're an artist.
Somebody was talking about Apex Thomas says, I'm right-handed. I need to learn to draw with my left hand like Frazetta before he passed. Now I had broken my drawing hand. You can see my like wicked finger now. But I had deadlines and I had bills to pay, so I couldn't stop. So I started drawing with my left hand. And everybody's like, oh, like Frazetta, but no. There was a big difference in that I was using Clip Studio that has all these controls to steady your line.
Stabilize, right.
He didn't. He did it straight up old school just by hand. So he's a beast.
Here's another like prelim. Very, very cool. So little pixelated here. This scan has got like some encryption going on. So let's move on from that.
Still really good figure work.
Here's another one. That's the button. So that's interesting. So this is the piece, but it ended up being quite different.
I actually kind of like the pose here a little better. Like I thought it was leaning too far over, but I don't know. It's man, I love that. So this looks like probably what 2x3, something like that.
Yeah, they're fairly small. I would say not. I can't imagine that it would be any bigger than 4x6, maybe 5x7, something like that. They're very, very cool little pieces. Steve McNiven, if I'm not mistaken, owns a couple of prelims. Lucky guy, man. He bought them back when they were still somewhat affordable. They would have still been very expensive, but I mean, you can see the date on this. This is 2003 Heritage. But back in 2003, you could actually get these for, maybe $2 to $7 grand. I think that they would be a lot more now, and I could be off on that pricing, but anyway, but they were like, if you had a little bit of money, you could probably treat yourself to one. This is an interesting version of this piece. I'm not 100% sure if this
never seen final. This.
Oh, you haven't? There's not a great scan of it. It looks like it's maybe a photo out of a book or something. But it is a very, very cool piece.
I wonder if this is after seeing what's that movie with the chariot race?
Spartacus?
Maybe Spartacus. No, the one I'm thinking of, the classic one with the big chariot race.
Ben-Hur.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know how I remember that.
There's only one like great chariot race.
That is totally Frank right there. There's no doubt in my mind that's Frank. It looks just like him when he was in his 50s, but I don't know what age he was when he did this piece. But man, that looks just like him.
What I love is that it's fit. He's fit, but it's real anatomy. You can't define every muscle because he's got skin, draped, stretched over it.
Well, what's interesting too is, I mean, this looks like a man who has a certain skin color, like a natural skin color. You can see a little bit of almost like shine to the flesh. There's a little bit of like a 3-day shadow or whatever you call that thing. The color of the skin here, but if you look at this guy's skin, and he's a little bit of a hairy guy. He's got a little bit of hair on his body. This guy, on the other hand, looks like he's been shaved down and oiled and is like, you know what I mean? It's fascinating, the subtle differences of this person's body, but this is more what Frank's body looked like at that age. He had a little bit of hair. He's got that Italian, like it's like a guy who's been tan and pale on and off throughout his whole life.
I love the thin hair at the top, but it's like bushier at the back. Hair is such a pain.
Yeah, like a little bit of a receding hairline. Yeah, dude,
it's great. All this naturalness.
Yeah,
knees are tough too. He's killing.
So this is from the Lord of the Rings pieces.
Yeah, I love the Lord of the Rings stuff, man. This might be some of my all-time favorite.
These guys just look like they're trucking. This guy in particular, he just looks like, man, he is ready to go kick some ass. Like.
There's like those killer forearms, the best forearms in the business, man.
Yeah, there's the vein. There's that vein.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the one when they do this too. The one right there.
Oh yeah,
you can see it on that figure. The attacher vein.
Yeah, that's still tricky. Is the whole shoulder situation?
Yeah,
because it has lines that go down like this, but the muscle fiber goes round like. Or no. I don't know. It just the way you're defining the shape as round, but it has the fibers going up and down. I don't know. It's a trick. It's tricky.
So good. Okay, what do we got? Oh, here's
I love this.
Is that Frodo? Who is that? Bilbo Baggins? Is that Frodo?
Yeah. Hell if I know. But I love the cartooniness of the wolf. So great.
Yeah.
All the textures. There's a print. There's a company right now that makes a print set of these, but they put this horrible crinkled paper texture in the background, and I'm like, I just want really nice, large black and white prints with no crap on it. But so I don't know. I'm sure you could still find original print sets or reprints.
It's so funny that these scans have that weird. Pixels. I can't get that out, but so this is obviously a Death Dealer prelim. Really, really cool. I like he wrote perhaps on it.
Did he ever finish this one?
No, I've never seen a piece of this angle of the horse. I mean, the horse is like he's like I'm going to show you my butt.
Look how simple though it's all black with very little rendering as far as values, and then this real subtle washes.
It's interesting too. You can white it out the legs, like it's rare that you actually knock something out.
Yeah. The legs are a little strange. He was like, I don't know about that. Let me do more of a side shot.
Yeah, for that. Yeah. Man, it's crazy to think that Death Dealer was on deck.
There's that skull in the face of the nose of the horse again. It's like a
Oh,
little
right,
skull.
right here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very, very cool. Oh, look at that. Whoo, that's hot. Girl with spear in arena fighting giant saber-toothed tiger, flying reptiles zooming in to the rescue.
That almost sounds like a note to the editor. Like this is what I was thinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think of this? So in this case, I guess maybe for paintings, prelims are more because it's a lot of work to have to go back and fix something. So maybe prelims are more important.
Her gesture is really cool. So is the cat, but man, that is awesome.
Yeah, they're almost like, if you look at it from the top, they're almost like circling each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, from the side, it's kind of the same thing, really. He's over the top.
These are some sketches. And these probably are just done in pen. I don't think that
it's actually good to see this kind of stuff because this is not as polished, or it's freeform doodles.
Yeah.
How much do you think? The Heritage auction, you think this went for like $12,000?
No,
foam doodles.
Not at this time. This might have gone for, honestly, in 2003, you might have been able to get this from, I'd say, $750 to maybe like $3,000.
Oh wow, that's still a lot.
Naked girl on a piece will definitely make it go for more. So I think she would be the selling point. This maybe too. This not so much, but yeah, I would say 800 to maybe $3,000. Now it wouldn't go for that much more. I don't think. Maybe. Okay, so let's see. Now let's go into.
Hey, save your sketches, people, because somebody might spend $3,000 on it.
For sure. Let's look at a little bit of the romance art that he did.
Oh, wow.
You would kind of mention these. These are sort of like a.
Well, I like his cheesecake stuff, but I didn't realize they were for romance. Oh yeah, romance comic stuff. Yeah.
We'll go through these kind of fast, but they're fun.
Right.
It's a tighter, more sort of refined Frank. I'm trying to remember what year he would have done these. I'm thinking maybe the 50s.
See, I tend to draw like super skinny people, but he has like weight. Well, his guys have like no fat at all, but like the ladies, beautiful eyes on that. The face is really good.
Yeah.
And that little bit of texture on the cloth there really adds a nice bit of detail.
And he's got the signature, so this might be a little bit later than what I had guessed. This could be the 60s.
Hey, Art's here. What's up, Art?
Artie Bear?
Yeah.
What's up, Art? How are you? We lost Ed.
He smelled the Frazetta. He's like,
he smelled Frazetta cooking.
Something's happening here. Oh, this is pencil.
You think it's pencil? It could be.
It looks like
it's a very bitmappy file, and in fact, they are bitmaps. Unfortunately,
it could be watered down inks. Oh, this is great. Look how cartoony
her pose. So that's like a very cartoony Frank. He's so funny.
These greaser guys, with the wafted hair and the Hey, yo.
Oh my God. I saw a picture of Frank when I was getting this together. That was the funniest thing. It's him holding a pole and like balancing himself straight out. So like the pole goes straight up and down and Frank is like horizontal to it. I'd never seen that picture before. The guy was so freaking strong. It's crazy.
Art says, please, Richard, slow down on the sexy.
Right. This is beautiful.
Take it all in.
Beautiful girl. Man,
she's great.
So nice. And that's very Silvestri, her face.
To me. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Silvestri, it's funny because he's got a few phases. Frazetta is definitely big. Mignola is big, which is also more Frazetta in a way. Before he got into the image stuff. Wow.
I'll tell you a funny story about Frank punching a guy in a second. I'm going to try to find the other piece, but
this is based on a true story.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Take pictures of my girl.
No. Well, so I'll tell it. So when Frank was in high school, there was this big guy that went to his school, and he would pick on Frank. And Frank's not a real big guy. He's just fucking cut out of granite and strong and fast as a fucking wild animal. And this guy like went like, all right, I'm gonna kick your ass after school. And
love this piece.
So they met like in the parking lot after school, and Frank just took this guy out with like one punch, just like didn't even wait for the guy to like, like start the fight. He just took him out. And I guess that was like a legendary story in the neighborhood. And so Frank went back to visit when he was an old man, and a guy recognized him. He goes, hey, he goes, you Frank? And Frank was kind of like a little hesitant. Like, you didn't know what the guy was going to ask him. And then he told the story of it. And he had remembered the story for like 40 years.
It's interesting that, he's known. It's like Beasley. Beasley is a very gruff and macho. He's very man's man, very tough guy, rides Harleys. And his artwork reflects that. And the same with Frank here. Frank is very old school, man's man, and the work really reflects that as well.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a goof, so my art's all goofy.
Yeah, Frank drew what he knew. It was like
this almost looks like pencil again. I wonder if that's the wash and then the texture.
It's washed. It's washed. It's a horrible scan, but there could be pencil underneath it.
Yeah.
I want to say I don't know. Wow. I don't know if this is in his Pillow Talk book. I think Pillow Talk is more the cartoony sort of elves and fairies, but this could be Pillow Talk. Maybe someone knows.
God, let's see that. Yeah, this I want to see this because that almost looks like pencil sketch, but the texture on it is really great. I love the. Yeah,
it's almost this piece has a bit of like a Serpieri vibe to me. Not the green, but just the brunette. I think sort of brings me there. It's just nice.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she's cute.
They just need a nerd that those guys can kick sand in his face.
Yeah, right. It's Frank and Al Williamson picking up Dave.
Those short shorts. Would you have worn those?
No, I've never been like on Frank's worst day. That would be like my best day.
I just wouldn't go to the beach.
That was one day when I was like 20 years old. Like I had one day where I looked that good, and then
I love this. She's picking up a rich husband right here.
Oh right. I like the little bonsai kind of vibe thing going here. I like he's got his toes all turned in, and he's like twiddling his thumbs. It's pretty funny. The chair is classic too. That's very I don't know, what do they call it? Like not Art Nouveau, but like that weird sort of.
It's what if he had that in his living room, or something? Like he knows that chair from somewhere.
He knows all this from somewhere.
Yeah. That's so great. The flow of that, the drapery and everything.
Yeah.
Freaking killer, man.
I like her butt showing through the dress. Like it's like it's pretty hard.
The back.
It's pretty cartoony, like the guy's face. It's like I really like how Frank lights hair. Like he'll do this like the highlight, but the way that he blends the kind of feathering in, it's not a ton of feathering here, but it's always very, very nicely done.
Well, just the shape language of the hair, period, the way he does it is so fun.
This is cute. This is very like just of the time. Pinup Girl, Gil Elfgren, all those guys, Petty.
Yeah. Gosh, man. This makes me want to do some ink washing. Look at that.
It looks like it could be right out of Playboy magazine.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the back, they'd always have like the little cartoon section. This is cute. We got all kinds of good stuff, so we'll finish these quickly and get to the. I always like this piece though. Actually, this is a good one.
It's good value in that.
It's like you can tell she's like been around, and she's like telling the girl, she's like, look, she's like, this is what you're gonna do, and she's like, really, you do that? She's like, oh yeah, and then I smoke cigarettes.
He loves them leg muscles, them like really like not spindly. What am I thinking of? You can see all the like
sinew.
Yeah, you can see all the kind of like stress, the tension.
All right, so let's go into the details now, and we'll wrap this up because I think it's probably it's almost noon. So we'll hit the details and we'll call it. This is going to be about a 2.5 hour video. So But these are all painting details, so this should be fun. This is all courtesy of the Frazetta girls. And again, I have a link in the comment section below. Please support the Frazetta Museum. Please support the Frazetta girls. It's so important, you know, to keep Frank's legacy alive, and, you know, throw a little money the family's way so that they can keep it out there. So this isn't the greatest detail, but that's actually pretty interesting. Look at this stuff.
Yeah, there's benefits to doing oil, in that you can do a lot of weird texture stuff because
it looks gooey. It's got that like the horsehair where you said it looked like spider webs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a tacky quality of this, but you can see that the stuff back here is way more almost chalky looking.
He keeps it fairly, like everything but the main subject. He keeps it fairly transparent or translucent or whatever, transparent, and then he doesn't go too opaque until you know, right at the top. But oh wow,
look at that! Really cool. So do you do that with a palette knife to get this effect? That weird sort of.
Maybe, guys, it looks like, I mean, you want to go in and draw all those details, but I guarantee, like you're saying, he's just.
Oh, you can kind of, you know, you can kind of see the strokes here a bit more.
Yeah.
Do you see right in this area right here? You get a sense of, you can see the underpainting, and then you can see this nice blue that he laid over it. But it could be a smashed up brush of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched that Bob Ross guy, and you see him do like texture and rocks, and sometimes it's just using really lightly paint, kind of hitting the bumps of the gesso and things that you have on there, and that creates a lot of effects really easily. So he could be doing a combination of that, doing like old brush stuff. Yeah, just digging it in there.
What's interesting is I like you saying gesso. It's one of the things that I would assume that Frank uses gesso, but I've never really, like, it's not like a focus with his work where you go like Struzen, you really see the gesso and go like, oh man, yeah, like he's laying it on.
Well, he's using it as like a design feature, but I think Frazetta might be using it as just a form of texture work. Or I know he might be doing gesso under. Well, no, because you can see the texture of the canvas there.
He worked on a lot of different. I'm not going to over exaggerate it. He worked on different types of board. This is clearly on canvas. That last piece that we looked at could have been something smoother, like very thick art.
Masonite, maybe. Yeah,
something like that. The Masonite you can really see when he uses the Masonite in general. But this is beautiful, man. What a great reproduction of this.
Again, with the greens and the purples and stuff in the skin tone. I mean, it adds so much. You can kind of see where the blood pools up, and you know. Yeah.
Man.
That little bit of purple in the shadow there. That little bit of.
So it's funny is seeing this reminds me of an album cover, and if Art's still here, Art will laugh. But Kiss Destroyer. So what Ken Kelly, I think, painted those pieces. Love Gun and Destroyer, but that would have been my first introduction into these odd color choices on figures, because you would sit and you would stare at the Destroyer album cover as like a kid and just go like, oh my god, Kisses, they're you know.
Well, I had an art teacher tell me that one time, because I was just coloring flesh tone, and she was like, she was telling me, actually, you know, there's bits of red in the nose and the purple, you know, and you can see in my lighting right now, there's like all kinds of various colors.
Look at the cracks on the this column. He did it in like a very interesting, like aquamarine or whatever you call this color. It's funny.
This is an odd composition for him. This is more like what I'd see from like Wrightson, where Wrightson plays. Oh, well, this is a detail. So
all these details. Yeah.
But it's funny because like I see artists doing this where they'll have action off panel like that. You know, it's kind of fun.
It's funny that he bent the this
little handle. Yeah.
It like literally looks like it melted. Like it's like I almost want to take it and straighten it up for some reason. Funny.
Show it one of those Frazetta girls.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah, right. Look at this. This is so cool. Look at that beautiful like light kind of.
You can see the buildup of paint, but he's doing the strokes and the contours of her body. So
look, he hits a little purple here. You see right now. But look at the hand. I mean, the hand is actually like, he's so good at drawing hands, but this hand is a little sort of stretchy.
Yeah. That little bit of.
Oh, this is great too. Look at these little hot spots of like burnt umber or frost or whatever the color is.
Well, see around the highlight of her skin, this is people will just draw or just have like white highlight or whatever. They'll just have the white, but you'll see it right around the edges where it meets the shadows, where you start introducing all these other colors, to show like almost like the light waves, the frequencies of the different colors that make up light.
Yeah. He's got a beautiful like mist sort of coming off of this cup, and then also kind of going up into her body. That's real subtle, but I mean, you can definitely see that he had very, very like not watered down, but whatever you call it, like diluted paint that he put there. It's really cool. Oh my God.
Paulus Art says, wasn't Kelly a nephew or something of Frazetta?
Yeah, he is. In fact, it's a very trippy. It's like the Nicolas Cage thing. No, I don't.
Oh yeah.
He loved Elvis so much he married his daughter.
Oh, look at that.
Well, Lisa Marie. Yeah,
he's got Batman in the background.
I know, right? It's what's the big robot Batman that was kind of in the Capullo book? I can't think of what his name was. The alligator's cool. The little bit of light on the alligator's eye is really cool down here.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see that. I was like, alligator.
Yeah. Sorry.
So dark.
Wow. Well, yeah. I mean, but he hit that with just enough little magic and a little bit on the teeth. He really could control his values good, and this isn't darkened. This is literally the way that it reads. See,
not afraid of falling into shadow and stuff. It's great.
It's interesting too, because I've seen pictures of his like painting palette, or like you can kind of catch little glimpses of it. It didn't look like overly manicured or super organized, but at the same time, clearly it was enough that he could do this, because again, you see I mean, this is a little bit more of an extreme thing, but man,
keep talking about the lighting on her is absolutely perfect. He really worked that a lot. You can see there's so many colors going on in that. Oh yeah, look at that. That bit of smoke, man. It's really hard to do smoke and have it read like smoke.
I know. I hate that with penciling and inking. In fact, it really annoys me, because everything I always want it to have atmosphere like that, and it's a frustration of the medium. I mean, you can water it down, but then it's not a pen and ink piece. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it is, but not with like lines.
I love this robot too. I was always loving this robot.
Yeah. So it was funny, is this actually was considered a rare piece, but the family actually shared it. But it was one of the book covers that I had never seen before. It's, I think, a Buck Rogers, I think it's a Buck Rogers.
Yeah, Buck Rogers. Yeah, you're right. I love how you can see a lot of the texture of the canvas, where you could tell he's very controlled, like he's only building up where he needs to.
Yeah. I mean, that's the white of the canvas coming through.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, it does create pixels. I mean, in a weird way, it's such a trippy thing that people figured out that, boy, you paint on this canvas material and you really get like some magic going.
Yeah, just instant texture.
It's
if you work it right. Yeah,
look at that. You can see how watered down his paint was.
That's really scary to do, because you're basically putting paint down, and then you're dripping. You're allowing it to drip in certain cases. And man, I guess you can always erase with oils, basically.
Right. Yeah, you can rub it out. This is nice. I like his gun.
Yeah, I love this the slick retro. Oh, look at that hand of the robot. He's like, screw it.
Yeah. Oh, right. I know. It makes me feel good, because
yeah, it does.
It's like, okay, I'm not such a terrible artist.
Yeah, you can see some flaws in this stuff, so it's good. It kind of makes you feel like, okay, I can I can get there.
Canetti mentioned that. I think he was talking about like he whenever he does a Frazetta character, like something that Frazetta is known for, he'll pour over Frank's work. And he was saying that sometimes he'll foreshorten limbs or kind of fudge things just to make it work for his piece. And it doesn't really matter. It's the whole piece is what you read anyway. But yeah, it's
those rocks are just like quick brush.
Yeah, so accurate though. Man, it looks cool.
And I wish there were video of him like actually painting something. So you can, I learn a lot, like for Kim Jong-gi for instance, like I could watch him for a few minutes and it improves me almost, because you're like, oh, I see what they're spending time on and what they're just going quickly over.
Right.
Yeah. I'd like to see where Frazetta puts his emphasis most, and what he just kind of,
I mean, a lot of it, I think, honestly, like that was a different version of it. So this is the original, and then that was the one that was before that was the redo.
Oh, it's almost like Etrigan a little bit,
right?
Like Demon Etrigan.
Man, look at that arm.
God, best arms in the business.
Oh, so
a little bit of like purplish smoke coming off the saucer.
It is really cool. Oh man, it looks very epic. It's kind of like Photoshop before Photoshop.
Those colors are really hard to reproduce, actually. The aqua and blues are really tough, and they're singing in this.
They're illegal colors.
Maybe. I mean, I'd love to see some originals. I need to take a pilgrimage to go to the museum and like really scope out how vivid some of these colors are.
They had a bunch at Comic-Con maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and someone came up to me in Artist Alley and was like, dude, there's like 13. It was Robert Rodriguez that brought a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't get away from the con to go check them out, so I didn't get to see them. But they were at the Hard Rock Hotel or something like that. But I never had an opportunity to go. So
yeah, he was all obsessed with doing sword and sorcery at one point. Yeah.
Oh, this is cool. I have seen a couple of Frazetta paintings in person though, but they were all like auction house sites at Comic-Con.
What's funny is his apes are all kind of the same. They're not real referenced like gorillas. They're this Frazetta gorilla monster that he does.
Yeah, it's interesting. This like red that's coming through the paint.
That's an underpainting. He probably did like a burnt umber, like underpainting first, which a lot of painters do. And then you could see bits of it coming through.
It really looks magical right here. Like it's like almost looks like sparks popping out of this area.
It'd be interesting to see to go dig up the actual like Erie cover or however it printed and see how much of that you can make out still, or what does look like particles,
Well, I think that oh man, look at that. That is really cool. So you'll see more of this piece in a second, but man, look at that. That is wild. Look at these strokes right here. The overlapping.
That's like some impressionism, some Singer Sargent kind of do it with one stroke.
And look at this right here, this stuff. I don't even know if that's just an accent. And look at this. This looks like the Northern Lights or some shit.
Well, he's using the paint strokes to show the fold. Like he's using overlaying paint strokes as the folds of the sheets. So it's like,
yeah. Well, this is an outdoor thing. This is like 3 monsters on like a hillside. We'll see more in a second, I think.
It almost looks like drapery over a box.
Yeah. Oh, it's the dancing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool, right? She looks so creepy. Well, I think it's supposed to be almost like an apparition, I think,
The volume in that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful gesture.
There's almost no skin tone in that at all.
It's funny because if you look right here, he actually indicated another arm. Do you see the hand and the finger? It looks like the arm was back. You see that?
Yeah, he turned it into a wrinkle.
Yeah. Because I think, well, wait, where's her other hand? I think is right there, or maybe not. Maybe that is supposed to be it. So this is the front arm. Okay,
Optical illusion.
That's her
Could
other
be.
arm. Her other
Yeah.
arm underneath the cape going back. It's nice, really, really cool. This is good too. The muscle flexing here, very Bridgman.
He does have a very Bridgman anatomy style, very chunky.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be in the folder, but I'll look. But I actually have some early drawings that Frank did as like a teenager when he was learning anatomy. I'll try to find them before we end it. They're on lined paper. It's very, very funny.
Yeah, so many colors going on here.
Yeah,
it's perfect. He's got all of them there.
The yellow is funny. See, actually, the yellow is you know how some paints actually have sort of a different viscosity just based on the material, the minerals and stuff in them, but you can see this yellow. It's probably like cadmium. It's probably like lead paint.
Very opaque.
It's very, very opaque compared to the other stuff.
But very smooth. I mean, you can't even see the. It could be the scan a little bit too, but you can't even see any brush strokes in it almost.
Exactly. Oh, it's cool. He just looks super stoned.
See, that's that Frazetta ape man.
Yeah,
that he does. It's close.
This is really cool. The scales on this, I like the shape of them. They're all what is that, a hexagon?
Oh yeah.
I don't need to do them.
That's probably something he like picked up where he's looking at like a National Geographic. I was like, oh, look at that.
He says in the Painting with Fire documentary that he would go to the zoo and he would watch like the big cats and he would just sit there and stare at them for hours. And this
really
looks like a profile of a lion. Do you see that right there? Like this would be like a shoulder blade, and then the arms kind of come down like this, and then this is the body, and this is the axe, and then the other leg sort of sits here, and then the head is right here. It's
We're doing like a Rorschach test with Frazetta.
Right. Well, I mean, it looks like a lion cub.
It does. Actually, you did a pretty good drawing of a lion there.
I'm telling you, like I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday, and it kind of I don't know, it was a little bit of a cringy post, but I was being genuinely honest with it, dude. The amount of improvement that I've had in the last 3 weeks, being able to pencil all day, every day, is very noticeable. I still suck, but I suck less. But
give it 20 years. This is another classic Frazetta, the creepy cover, right?
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Kirk Hammett owns this piece. He owns a few of the horror covers, and possibly one of the Conan paintings, but I don't know if that's all accurate. But I'm nearly sure that he does own 3 of the horror covers that Frank did. And this, you can see, is on Masonite. If you look right here, this is Masonite. This is Masonite. You can see it. So when Frank paints on Masonite, he generally will use it as a part of the painting. Like you can see it in it. You still there, Kelsey? I'll give him a second.
Yeah, I'm popping.
Okay. Yeah, but do you see the Masonite in there?
Yeah, it doesn't absorb the liquid quite as much. It kind of floats a little bit, but
yeah. Oh, this is one of his later pieces. He was working with new colors and things like that, and was really making a comeback. And so was after
Phil Hale here.
Right. Yeah, totally. I'm sure. Wow, man, that is such a beautiful high-res scan of it. Look at that.
Wow.
They hooked it up. Rosetta Girls, thank you for doing this. Sarah.
Was this a scan or a photograph of how, I mean.
Well, here's the deal. This is, I was kind of speculating that myself. So the Frazetta Girls are merching Frank's stuff quite heavily. And my guess would be is that they probably went and did either high-res photos or high-res scans of it, whatever they did, to get the highest quality. And my guess is when they probably are doing their Instagram, that they pull from those archival photos that they've taken now.
Yeah.
So they're giving us some killer shit. Well, my fantasy with them, and I hope that the family can get together to do this maybe as a project between the different ownerships. I would love to see an artist edition of Frank's work.
Oh, yeah. That would be
They could
great.
publish it themselves. They don't need to do it through IDW. But if they could do a book like this of Frank's work at like actual size with just ridiculously good reproductions,
I'd really love to see
uh,
those series of black and white inks you were showing earlier, like as an artist edition.
oh my God, they're sitting on a gold mine. And
I've never seen an artist edition of paintings before. That would be really interesting. Like you're talking about, super detailed.
The three Frazetta books that they have, Icon, Legacy, and Testament, they all actually have very, very nice reproductions. But I think you almost maybe would want to upscale it just the tiniest bit. Make it a little bigger than the originals.
It almost might be better as digital, like if you had a 4K DVD that you can like zoom in on,
right. Look at all the color in here. Man, it's like magical.
God, he's got all of them there. There's red, green, purple, yellow.
It's nuts.
It's all of them.
It really is. And I know you love to mix a lot of interesting colors, so it's fun to see this with you.
Ever since I heard, I'm a huge Hildebrandt fan, and the brothers said that they never use white or black.
Oh, okay.
They're always like if it's black, it's actually a very, very deep purple.
Right.
If it's white, it's actually like a super light yellow or something. And I've seen that here. Like, I'm not sure he's using absolute white or black either.
Look at on his chest. He's got like a few little blue dots, a little bit of the green.
But it reads like texture. Like when you zoom back, it's like bits of his metal.
Yeah. His face, man, he just looks so serious.
Is that skin, or is he wearing like an outfit there? That has to be
the
like
face. That's
I don't know, his the chest area. That has to be like a metal plate.
Oh yeah, I think it's I don't, maybe this is armor right here. Like a
right.
Of a wrap. I don't know, it kind of almost looks like skin though.
That dude's face getting choked. I mean,
it's almost too much. I've always felt that it's actually really good. It could be his hair. This is definitely Phil Hale though. Phil was vibing on this. Yeah, there's something, I don't know if it's the hair or the face, but yeah, it's almost like he took it to a crazy spot.
He was angry at his neighbor for chopping down the limbs, and he was like, "This is what I'm gonna," and he's imagining that.
Yeah, he can't run around the yard naked anymore.
Yeah.
He trimmed back the hedges. The neighbor trimmed back the hedges. Look at this right here, man. This sword, the angle that it's sitting at is so cool.
Yeah. I'm just digging on that snake.
Yeah. Oh, this guy's leg too. Oh man, it's powerful.
That bit of blue. Oh man.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm gonna watch this so many times. I'll probably have the most views of anyone.
Of your own stuff.
Well, it's Frank's stuff. It has nothing.
It's true.
I could put on music and watch it back, but yeah, this is gonna be like, oh man. I joked about this is like there was a serious lack of Ashley Wood videos on YouTube, and it always frustrated me. So I've done a couple of long videos on him, but it's the same with Frank. It's like I will never get bored looking at Frank's work. So
yeah, I'm with you with Ashley as well. He's constantly trying new stuff and like pulling things out of weird references and art styles. Oh yeah,
this is one of the John Carter pieces. This might
see how he kind of feathered that out. The bottom of the moon or this planet kind of feathers out into the mist
right here.
No. The background. Yeah.
Kind
of fades out. I mean, that's that's hard to like let yourself do. Yeah, you want to just define that edge.
Yeah. And to our own detriment. And it's funny, he actually put just a few little sort of blues. Just it could be underpainting that's poking through, but it's nice. This actually is really cool too, how he lit the top of that.
Yeah, that little bit.
I'm gonna darken it just a little bit so you can make the value a little more. Yeah, so creepy. Man, that is so epic. It looks like one of my black drawings when I pull it that dark.
Yeah.
Okay, more of this.
Man.
I think I might have actually. Okay, look at this. Oh, it's so cool. And this kind of has that the Doubleday look, the Mignola the stuff where it's a little more cartoony.
Yeah, it looks very small. Like this is just a section.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool. Well, yeah, this is again, these are all details, so this is just a little slice of a painting, but just the way that the figures are drawn leans a little more towards the Doubleday look.
Still lots of colors in there. As soon as you start going into the shadows, there's
yeah,
bringing in more colors. And that lizard design, I love his like lizard creatures.
Yeah, the plating of the whatever the hide, whatever this is nice too. Actually, by his eye, these
like a snake. Yeah.
Ah, Frank, so damn good. It's cool too that he didn't really draw his face. The temptation might be to like show a little bit of the jaw or the nose.
It's probably our mind filling it in, but I could see like a beard and like a nose in
I did see a bit of a beard. That's funny.
But it could be just our minds filling it in. Yeah.
And he said that he always liked to leave. Oh, this is funny. So this is, I think it's called Savage Land. It's a bunch of Neanderthals carrying off like a woman with like volcanoes. I actually knew a guy that owned this painting.
This is still oil, but very watered down. Watered down.
Yeah, it's weird. When I saw it, I was wondering if this was a prelim of the piece, because generally, if you see it online, it has a more hot read to it.
Well, he's done some like Tarzan pieces in this real watery kind of.
Those were earlier in his career. This is that same piece that we were looking at before, the one before the last.
Yeah.
Man, really cool. Good. But you can see, like on this, I mean, he actually, unless that's some sort of helmet this thing is wearing, man, it's really cool looking. This is pretty creepy. Like he's got almost like a fin armor on this. You see that? Yeah, that must be armor. I think this is a piece of armor.
But that's what's great about what he's doing is it's a bit impressionistic, so that your imagination will take over.
Yeah.
I think
so nerds will talk about it for centuries to come.
Yeah, maybe it's good to build in a bit of ambiguity. Yeah.
This is a great piece. This is Neanderthal, I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that. This one he did fast. This one he did in I think 4 or 5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Or you know what I'm mixing two, because this is on canvas. The one I'm thinking of is actually on Masonite. That's Neanderthal. This has got a different name to it.
Yeah, that's still, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
I heard again, going back to Beasley, because it's kind of a contemporary, or well, not a contemporary, but our modern kind of interpretation of a Frazetta type. But he was talking about doing those Batman, Gotham. What the hell is that? Batman Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
he got to be a page a day at that stuff painting.
Wow. Oh, really? Wow,
that's crazy. Yeah, so I can imagine Frazetta possibly doing that.
This is pretty interesting. It's rare that you actually see something like this in a Frank painting, where like the blend is a little more noticeable.
Harsh.
Yeah. It's not bad, but it looks like something like, like I would do, where I'd go, oh, I wanted it smooth, and that damn ink was darker than everything else, and now all of a sudden it looks like you've got like a bib or something on the character. But
it must be like when you pull back, he's just like, nah, it works.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, this is really interesting. I'm very confused if this is the original or if this was a very tight prelim of it. But I don't remember the painting looking so translucent. It always is way more saturated. Oops, sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes people online will really like brighten up the scan.
Oh, wow.
Unless, you know what it could have been is he may have done it, and that wouldn't make sense, because this is how whatever. Well, oh, you know what? Okay, so this is a prelim of the piece. I'll explain why. I just figured it out. The piece was sold years ago. Like my friend owned it probably over a decade ago. Whatever the Frazetta Museum or the Frazetta girls are showing is what they have in their hands. So my guess is that they have a different version of it, not the final one that we're used to seeing.
That looks like real rock. That's definitely gesso plate right there.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Because he's literally like those spots are built up off the canvas.
Yeah, you figure these dark shadows would be the underpainting, right? And then you kind of wipe it off and it sticks in these crevices, and then you go lighter or put mist to other colors.
That could be what he's doing also, because Dave Dorman does stuff like this, and it fools me sometimes because I'm like, God, that looks three-dimensional, but it's exactly what you're talking about. Kind of the way you wipe off the paint.
Right.
It creates like a shadow.
Right, like the chunkiness of the gesso catches that dark underpainting, and then you wipe it off, and you can see in here he's got like a little bit of like an olive green or whatever that like, and there's purple, and then you've got blues again. It's really interesting.
That looks like one of the studio guys.
It does. Yeah. It's Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah. He's like, I'll teach you who can draw
the gesso on this one.
Yeah. That's how you could tell that's palette knife. Just
man, look at this guy's face. So scary. Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. More studio guys.
Right. It's a Kaluta and Wrightson. These heads have been stolen so many times and by so many artists. It's hysterical. Where you'll see these pop up like in people's drawings, comic book drawings, whatever. Like,
I wonder why.
I think they're it's very iconic, and you end up pulling it out, and then you do his Neanderthal head. It's just that lighting always will look like a Frazetta. This is a little like he's got a little bit more of a piratey look to him.
But it's funny now if you do that, you'd be compared to Mignola, I guess, because of the drop shadow over the eyes from the brow, just blocking out that whole socket. I've never gotten the hang of that either. I still haven't gotten there yet.
Look at this. This is beautiful right here.
Golly. It's so three-dimensional.
It really is. And it's funny too, is that was the thing I was keen in on, is it really feels like it's going back into space. You know what I mean? You feel this sense of
the holes.
This one is like curving up, and
even the holes look like they have depth. Like you can fall, you could. There's like man, gosh. That's so good. Yeah, and that next bit of rock behind there all shadowed out and stuff. Oh wow. There's some more of that water.
Yeah, this is that Savage Land piece.
Bit of gesso there too with the rocks or something.
Yeah. It looks nice. It's actually very, very cool. It's almost
I'd see that and want to try that, and then I'd be like, it looks like some gesso spots in the middle of my, like
yeah, you have to have the courage to leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That's great.
Oh my God.
There it is again. He was playing around with that gesso. And watch it not be gesso. It's something else entirely.
Well, it's what's that?
Hand painted.
Will you spray on your roof? The popcorn.
Yeah. Oh, he's using some of it in the background here.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how the spaceships are straight. There's not a lot of opaqueness on those at all.
What are the robots called in Battlestar Galactica?
Cylons.
Krylons. It's like
Cylons.
Or Cylons. Sorry. Yeah. It's funny. The ship almost looks like a Cylon helmet to me. It's interesting. He did a nice job with that. It's very, very cool.
I was thinking it almost has a John Burkey kind of vibe.
Right. I thought the same thing. I was going to say that. That's funny. This looks like candy to me.
It does.
Like hot candy or something.
Like every color there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, this is interesting. I can't believe that he did such a tight prelim for this piece. It's all there. It's not.
It's hard to believe that's a prelim. That's he's even got the gesso. Maybe he did it once and then was like, I need more.
Well, here's the deal, because he did it with one piece in particular that I know of. There's a painting that he sold, and he didn't want to sell it, and a friend of his bothered him for quite a long time about getting it. And finally, something happened, and Frank kind of owed him a favor, and he went like, "All right, like I'll sell you the piece." He goes, "But I'm gonna do a recreation of it." It's a real orange piece with like a swashbuckler guy and like a woman standing in front of a huge planet. But there's two versions of that painting that are out, and I think one might even be up for sale right now on Heritage. But it could have been a situation like that, whereas like the piece sold maybe in the 80s or 90s, and he just did a recreation of it. Like he had the layout still.
So I'm wondering about the.
Oh, go ahead.
Through these so fast. I'm trying to mention something with the last one. It's all right.
Here.
It's all right. No worries.
Are you sure?
I've never seen the colors on that piece like that before. It makes me wonder. With a lot of these, you've seen so many different versions, and you're kind of like, I wonder what the real accurate one is, because like that Battlestar Galactica piece, I've seen that 100 times. I've never seen the colors that vibrant.
Was it this piece? Oh no! Oh, that's what I'm on before that. It'll be right before it. This.
Yeah, look at her. The green on her body and stuff.
Yeah,
and the green on it. I've never seen it that vivid before.
Right.
Which makes me wonder if they up the contrast on this, maybe, or the saturation, or if that's how it really is.
Well, let's see. We can lower the saturation just the tiniest bit and see.
That's
maybe.
Not it. Well, yeah, actually, but I don't think I've ever noticed that green like that before. I got these on a card set.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The card set's so tiny too. It could be that. I love the leather holster for this gun. It's a very nice little touch.
Yeah, he's good at the leather holsters.
Their tech is hysterical. It looks like calculators. Because remember how they would do
that? Yeah. That was high tech when he was doing this stuff.
It's like two calculators side by side. That's the future.
Yeah, awesome.
And then this. Her body is funny. She's got a little bit of a tummy.
You can kind of see the gesso underneath that. The lateral paint strokes, but maybe not on her legs is kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, and there a little bit. Kind of underneath.
Oh yeah, I see it. I see what you're talking about. Well, you have to prepare any canvas, correct?
Right.
On it. So
which is weird because you can see the canvas through. So it's almost like he's only gessoing bits and pieces of it in a weird way.
This is Mothman. I do know the name of this one.
Man, that's really cool design. He looks like Kamen Rider.
Okay.
There's that Frazetta splayed hand thing.
Oh yeah. The tree.
Look at that.
The tree of doom.
The tree.
Look at his face.
He's jutting us going. Argh.
Man. Okay. We've got some pretty interesting ones coming up. Interesting color on the sword.
Yeah, blood and green. It's like reflecting a lot. And the purples and greens all in the foot and stuff.
Yeah, the foot's interesting. I was looking at it because it's like it's drawn good enough, but it's not gonna let me do it. I was gonna try to rotate.
Whoa, a Cylon. I heard.
Yeah, I was trying to rotate. If I open too many files, my computer just like goes nope.
Trees are cool. Apex Comics says trees are cool to draw. I actually get a kick out of drawing trees. I love trees.
Yeah, me too. This is nice. Beautiful colors and value on this one. I mean, you can just see how nice it's going to be.
Man, the values are great. Yeah. Oh, it's almost like some drawn, like it's pen and ink.
Yeah.
Real sharp edges.
You can get a real Jeff Jones vibe off of this. Jeffrey Catherine Jones.
Yeah. Then the hair, the way the brush strokes go, how they almost have a three-dimensional, like they're overlapping.
Yeah. That's real.
Things you can do in painting that you can't do easily in brush and pen and ink. I mean.
Oh, here's Masonite again. So funny.
Oh, yeah.
You can really see it.
That's just straight masonite, the board.
Yeah. Yep. Now I don't know how that will age over time. If the not that the masonite, but the paint on the masonite, I'm not sure what that would do exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never painted masonite.
Look at like this is so nice, and this right here, oh man, it looks so cool. There's this translucent quality to it, but it's almost got like a little bit of a line decker vibe, the way that he's laying it down so strokey. Like line decker, when he does his backgrounds, will hit it with these big kind of swatches of color.
Yeah.
This almost gives me like, you know, the material that shrinky dinks are made out of, that like weird plasticky stuff.
Yeah.
The way the paint sits on this almost looks like shrinky dinks, like sitting on top of masonite.
Well, if this is acrylic, you could literally probably peel it off, you know, like because it's just a rubber. But oils, I've heard that there's some Renaissance paintings that are still not dry.
Wow.
Because oils are like they take a really long time to cure or whatever.
Right.
I don't know if this
was one I had never seen.
Oh, wow. No, I don't think I have either. That's a really good face.
83, it looks like it says.
God, 83, man. That was Empire Strikes Back. When did that come out?
82, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I love thinking about what's going on. And when you look at old videos and you see how people dressed in 83 and you see cars people were driving, you're like, and there's Frazetta drawing this.
Man,
like something doesn't seem right.
The planes on this are so huge. Look how chunky that is.
Got a wrinkly knee there.
Yeah, it's really cool. Man, it's powerful. Look at this, his hip.
Yeah, man, he's just going for it. I like how it's not quite as precise as you imagine. There's a lot, like the Kim Jong-gi. I go back to him. I'm actually coloring a piece of his right now. You zoom in and you see how rough it actually is.
Yeah,
look at.
I know. It's like, hello, skull. Man, I
wonder if that was intentional.
Oh, for sure, 100%. There's no doubt in my mind on that. I mean, he's got it all there, and this even looks like a little bit of the like a little anatomy or something that he kind of threw in. You still there?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm watching. I'm looking at the. I was thinking about the command of the transparent versus opaque in this piece. This is a really, really controlled piece as far as like how he's laying in color.
Yeah,
because there's you can kind of see washy areas, and then he's throwing in opaques here and there. And then when you go up to the figure, it gets more and more opaque. He's throwing on more and more paint.
Yeah, it's really, really neat. What's
Revenge of the Jedi 83? Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. This is a great piece. It's quite a detail of it, but it's incredible. Look at these strokes here. I would be so uncomfortable leaving stuff like this.
Yeah, that's really. I don't think I've ever noticed that.
If you zoom out, it's not too bad, but yeah, they feel very, very loose. Almost
like it's unfinished.
Yeah,
in a way.
There's that ass.
Yeah. Malin would be pleased. I mean, Anna.
Right. This is really cool right here too, man. It's so beautiful.
It's almost like a monster. There's like a baboon head and like some teeth right there.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. That's why I love like that Bakshi cartoon where the backgrounds, all the cities look like faces and teeth and stuff. It kind of makes me think of that, where there's like faces everywhere in the shadows.
A little more of the masonite magic.
It makes I've always wanted to draw on like Canson paper and do black and white values, and let the color of the paper actually define like your midtones.
Right. Yeah. Travis actually told me, he said that he said, you ever want to test your drawing skills? He said, try to draw on like tone paper. He said, it's pretty challenging.
Just work shadows and highlights. Really, that's all you're doing.
This is one of those Tarzan pieces.
This is early. You said these were early in his career,
right? And what's interesting about this era, so this is the transition from Frank actually giving up his originals to keeping his originals. So this piece, I would guess, would be when he started to get the originals returned. But there are Tarzan covers that the publisher did keep that are that was the deal. So this is
I got a question. When has he always painted? Like from early on, learning how to be a craftsman, draftsman, learning how to draw and stuff. Was he a painter?
Yeah,
from the beginning.
When he was training under, the guy's name is Michel. It's Michel Flangia or Flangia, I think. He did actually paint when he was taking those classes as a kid, because I know for a fact there's a fruit bowl painting that he did that's actually very nicely done.
Look at the lighting on this is brilliant, because there's a fill light right in the center. You can see it on his hip clearly.
Yeah.
And then he's got the cool lighting on the left side, and then the hot from the main light source coming in from the right on that leg and his arm. But that fill light, man, that's great.
What now is this oil paint? It looks so I don't know if chalky would be the right word, but it's got a very almost like pastel kind of look to it or something.
Well, it looks watercolor to me, but there's but right on her arm where it hits shadow, it almost looks like some gouache, where a gouache has a kind of a chalky, opaque quality to it at times.
Man, look at the lighting on her hair.
Watercolor.
The lighting on her hair is so kick-ass.
Yeah.
He's hitting all the top planes. He just goes in and does it.
This could be watered down oils too, but I don't know. He does watercolor, so it wouldn't surprise me if this is a watercolor piece.
Yeah. I don't want to stop, Kelsey. I could do this all day.
I got to run here in a minute, but we've been on for almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
we can go to the 3 hour mark. That's just 10 minutes. So
okay.
This is another one of my faves. Man, I just love his body, the way it like leans back on that, the tiger clawing over the the tree.
And I mean, this is a very complete piece, and it's interesting that it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would consider this one of his more famous pieces. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's very nice, very colorful.
I love how the rib cage goes more. It's not as hit by the sun, so it's not as tan or something like that. I don't know what's going on there, but I love the different tones of skin.
Well, and the Ben-Hur piece or whatever we're going to call it, that one, it's the same idea. It's like Frank knows what a tan body looks like, but he also knows that a tan body, if your arm is down, this part of your body will not. It's insane, the observational skills that he has.
Or that's hitting, the light's hitting right there, and your arms are natural. Your face, it's getting sun most of the time. So, but Tarzan is always like just in a loincloth. So
sure,
dark probably, but
if he referenced himself, he might have that.
He's got serious farmer's tan.
Right. This is Tarzan Dancing with Monkeys cover.
It's funny that you know all the names of these.
Well, that's not the technical name. This is
okay.
So this is like some weird ape creature running out of a cave, but he's got like flipper feet. It's obviously a fantasy monster, but it is very weird.
I've never noticed the flipper feet before.
yeah, it's very bizarre. That is a weird powerful leg. Good God.
Yeah, you see him hit these hard shadow edges, which I think help really define these solid muscle shapes, where they're it's almost like where you can see right here the little hard edge.
Yeah, sorry, I switched.
The veins, that's another thing he's really good at. Veins are hard. You think I see a lot of Frazetta in Finch. He's going to be a real fan of Frazetta.
Sure, definitely. Faux show.
I mean, who isn't really? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, good stuff.
You know, well, oh, sorry, I was gonna say Finch could be someone. I mean, he's apparently got some sort of a project that he's been kind of working on the down low. He would be a great person to do a fantasy book too. Like if he did a fantasy book, it would sell incredibly well. So, you know,
he's kind of did with one of his early thing at Top Cow before, like ages ago. Ascension or something was kind of
yeah.
That was some sci-fi too, right? Like I had a
Yeah,
little bit of everything.
sci-fi. It was definitely, you could see he was vibing off of Travis's X-Men Wildcats too.
Oh yeah, everybody was then.
This is the front end of that creature with the flipper foot.
Oh yeah,
man, that is a really great detail. Whew. Man, that is so cool.
Yeah. You could see him cutting in the white. This is fun to do when you're painting and stuff or doing color. But see how he's cutting in, but he's leaving little bits of it kind of, and it helps define the shape. And you end up with these happy accidents, like that little hook on the elbow.
Yeah,
that was probably him painting that in, and like, that looks cool. I've done that a lot.
this right here, that right there,
that little sharp point on the elbow there.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, it's almost like he was painting a splotch in, and then got that little sharp edge.
Yeah,
keep that. Or and on the teeth, these little sharp edge.
Yeah, there's a little piece of black paint right here on the tooth, but it's funny is like if you look at it from far away, it helps it not melt into the background.
Yeah, it does.
His gums showing is super creepy too. That red is like pretty disturbing.
I love the angle of the shield and his arm and the wings on his helmet. I mean, it's so perpendicular there, but then he's got these angles flying off of it.
What's interesting here too is you can see his cartooning skills really coming into effect, because this is a very like this thing is cowering at the size of it. Like to me, this and this shape right here is, I mean, it could literally be like Bugs Bunny with his ears back because he's scared. And it's definitely reacting to it.
Or it's a cornered wildcat, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, you can come down on me, but you're coming down on this sword.
Yeah, I know. No shit, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. So I don't mean to cut you off when I switch the piece.
That's all right.
This is beautiful. This one there's a few versions of this painting too.
That arm is so good, but it looks like it looks like it's hard to tell what's going on there. Is his hand bending back? Like this?
His arm is going back into space this way.
Well, I mean, his wrist in the hand, it's really bent.
The hand goes like this, and then it's tucking back, probably around it like that a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it's nice. Nice.
It's like a genie. This is like a djinn, right? Like a genie.
Yeah, super creepy. The color on this tree is great too. Let's see if they show.
There's some chiaroscuro going on in these paintings too, where he's doing the light, dark.
This is some great shit in here. This guy's face, man, is just ferocious.
I've often thought it'd be cool to see a wildlife painter approach wildlife paintings like Frazetta. Like, what would Frazetta do as a wildlife painter? The super dynamic wildcats fighting, or things like that. Eagle coming in, getting a fish, but it's like super dynamic and cool.
It's funny that you said that. So I went to the San Diego Zoo one time, and we were in the gift shop getting ready to leave, and there was a puzzle, and it's a hand-drawn illustration. I'll snap a photo, but I don't think I have it in my office right now. I put it away. The guy is freaking amazing, and I've Googled him, and it must be someone working under a pen name, but whoever the illustrator was, it's like 100 animals on it. It's the most incredible drawing ever, and he just doesn't exist. You cannot figure out who it is, but man, it's crazy, but it's kind of the same idea, what you're saying.
It's great use of value here where she's so white, she just pops.
Yeah. The fair maiden with the beast.
Her boob is the whitest thing on there. I don't know if it's probably just me, but my eye goes right there.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Was that his intention? It's like, I'm gonna make everybody stare at her boobs.
Yeah, Frank was a ladies' man. He doesn't hide that. Oh yeah, the bottom of this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. Creepy witch woman.
The original piece of this is quite different.
What do you mean?
This is the final version of it, but Frank did an earlier version that's a bit different than this full piece.
Look at the bubbles. So simple, but
yeah,
they look like bubbles.
So are those like swamp gas bubbles? Is that like,
I don't know. That's interesting.
I've heard of that, but I've never seen it. This is pretty creepy because it almost looks like an alien head in a bubble. Like there's a very like skull, like almost alien thing going on. Man, it's so gnarly. Her butt too, man. It's like
there's almost like some panty lines, like the indentation of it there.
yeah, it's crazy.
That's fun.
Butts are fun.
Oh, this is my favorite kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I love this. I actually want to do some of this simple pen and ink line, and it even looks like he's inking with colored inks on the woman there.
Right.
Like her hair looks like a reddish ink.
Sure. Yeah, this is almost like I always call it like the Jack Davis style, but
You think he's using the Doc Martens colored inks to do some of the line work with the pen?
Yeah, something like that. I believe that these are watercolor pieces, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they couldn't be dyes.
Well, I've never tried watercolor with a nib, but I don't know why it wouldn't work.
You can see the ink in here. It's interesting. Like in here, reads like a little bit like black India ink.
Yeah,
this is nice too. A little bit of green inside of this.
I would bet he's doing watercolor and then going back with that could be brush, but I feel like I'm seeing some pen like in on the woman on the other piece on the other part of this. Well, that could be
the line on this guy's shoulder looks like a pen also.
Yeah, it could be colored inks as well. I mean, for the outlines of stuff, Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, a foot, a dainty foot.
Yeah. He did a lot of this style for Hollywood comedy movie posters.
Yeah,
back in the 60s, I think. 60s,
these
70s.
Financially saved Frank from destitution.
Really?
Yeah, they were struggling, and then
it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, they said his work after he worked with Al Cap, it was dated and just they didn't really take him very seriously, and he did Ringo Starr caricature for Mad, because Nick Menglin was like an art director there, and Angelo Torres, both good friends of his. Angelo obviously worked for Mad Magazine for a long time.
Here you have a super chat from Antoine Dennison for $2. Rich, would you be open to a group drawing stream?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my goal right now is to hop onto Dan's at some point this month. I was originally hoping to do it tonight, but with this, I'm gonna have to get to work. I have a double page spread I'm drawing right now. Yeah, no, for sure. I would love to do that at night and have people. I mean, I'll kind of mimic what Dan is doing right now for Fragtober, where everyone can draw for an hour or two, and then we'll do a little bit of a chat afterwards.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It would be really fun. We pick a topic each night. Everyone, I would say maybe like let's draw for an hour and then we could chat for an hour. It's hard for me to do really, really long streams at night. So
the back is so insane. That looks so good.
Yeah.
The muscles are perfect. Like, I don't even know if that's perfect, but it looks perfect. It looks like they're all there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so vibrant. The reproductions in the book, man, and they never pop like this, boy.
Oh, I never noticed his calf there.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
wow, a little bit of light hitting and it's
yeah. You can even see the foot and the ankle. And
big old fat ankle there.
the body of the snake too. It actually really has a very kind of creepy, disturbing, like this right here. Man, it looks so real.
That's so simple too. The techniques there, just a
Yeah,
couple like
the way that
of
the way that the
overlaying.
mass sits on the ground, like it's bulging because of the weight of the snake hitting the ground.
Do you think this had to have been done before the Conan movie, right? Do you think this inspired Milius?
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
It did for
I'm
sure.
sure he was looking at all these paintings.
They wanted it to look like Frank, and for whatever reason, Milius had a weird thing with. It was Dino De Laurentiis. Was he the producer of the movie?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Dino wanted to buy Catgirl, and Frank wouldn't sell Dino Catgirl. So Dino kind of, I think, maybe like passively aggressively sort of punished Frank, and so they basically kind of did Frank, but didn't want him involved.
I've heard stories about De Laurentiis like that before. He can be kind of on one hand, he's like really cool and made a lot of movies with a lot of people, but then he's kind of a snot in a way.
Yeah. So his punishment for Frank not selling Catgirl was, we'll do Conan, we're not going to have you be a part of it.
Who ended up with Catgirl too? That's an interesting.
Catgirl is still in the family, I believe, but I don't think it's at the museum. So it's possible that
I'm not even sure.
I think I don't know if it's public who owns which pieces, to be honest. I mean, the Frazetta Museum, obviously, it's out there, and the Frazetta girls show their collection, but the other two kids might keep it more private.
Now, why is she called Catgirl? I know this piece, yeah, but because it's got cats all around. I see.
Yeah. Oh, here's another.
That's a great piece.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love that rock texture.
Yeah.
This makes me want to pull out the paints, man. I told Frega, man, I was like, we need to do like a gouache off because he was talking about it. I was like, I ain't never seen nobody do a draw stream where we're painting, man. And he's like, I'll have to use my watercolors. I'm like, damn, we'll do it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. It was funny as I was going to buy a set of gouache maybe 10 months ago, but it was a little out of my price range, to be honest. Like to get like a nice set, I was going to be dropping quite a bit of money, and I was like, oh man, I don't know.
I got mine from a sale. They had like a sale, and it was like 75% off. So I was like, yes, I grabbed a bunch of them.
This is really interesting. Like every plane of the wolf has got like a different color on it. Do you notice this? It looks so funny. It's like every different angle is like, that's pink, that's purple, that's beige, this one.
It's every plane is hitting a different like amplitude of light.
Yeah, it looks like a stained glass window, and this is really wild too. And it's so diluted. Like the ink, the paint is so thin.
I love it. It's where you can see the technique.
Yeah, this is the cover of, I think, Legacy, maybe Testament.
Love those robots, man. I'm gonna steal those.
Dude, look at this little guy. He's like,
yeah, look at that lizard robot guy almost.
I don't know if this is intentional, if it's just a coincidence. It looks like a face looking back, like with the eye, like a bird like face with the eye right here.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
It is.
I don't know.
This is the Valkyrie thing, right? The one she has, yeah.
Okay, and this is another detail. I don't remember this piece, but it's interesting.
Creepy. It's the creepy guy, right?
Yeah.
Those eyes.
Yeah.
There she is. Future Valkyrie. So
is this Battlestar Galactica?
He loves like the kind of Native American features or South American kind of they all have the oval shaped eyes and the pronounced kind of jaw, he did
a lot of really beautiful African art too. I mean, he definitely loved the culture. In fact, there's a lot of like little artifacts and stuff like that have that vibe in the museum
that's straight up Bernie Wrightson right there, man. You can almost see where Bernie got a lot of his stuff.
The pebbles down here are great. Or the rocks. Man, it's cool.
Again, every different plane is hitting it. Like the rocks are just like the wolf. They're subtle angles, so they're just hitting light just a little differently, and they're colored a little different. Huh?
Honestly, in Blaster Kid, we could sprinkle a little bit of this idea in some of the scenes. It never occurred to me, but like, there's a couple of opportunities to do a little bit of Frazetta magic in there, maybe.
I do a lot of like mixing. Like I have some texture brushes and stuff. So yeah, I mean, especially for the pieces where you want to slow down the reader,
right,
really
right.
take it in, and you add all that kind of stuff and let them just soak it all in.
Well, it's the contrast of like it's completely, wasteland and then moments of beauty. Like that keeps it exciting.
I love when he does stuff like this where it has a very obvious caricature or cartoony quality to it. But it's rendered like everything, it's rendered as realistically as everything else.
Look at the hair on the Wolfman, like it's just so crazy.
Yeah, man.
Well, this was some video. Let's start to wrap it up so that we can both get to actually our work, but we're gonna walk away with this.
Yeah, man, I got definitely wanting to do some drawing. I know. Wow.
That looks like it's out of like an NCYF painting or something.
It does.
God dang, that is amazing.
So many, like the lack of blood flow in the back of the knee.
Right.
So it's a little bit less reddish.
Wow.
And the different muscles in the leg going up to the glutes, God, he's so good at his anatomy. So perfect.
And this, just the calf. Like,
yeah.
That is so nice, man. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a little bit more of the snow. They do these like the way that they set up their Instagram is they'll have like these tight shots and then like kind of paintings inset. The Frazetta girls in particular do a really, really nice job with their Instagram. It's quite a work of art with how they set it up.
Hey, check this out. Skeletons and Pete says at a Comic-Con in the early 70s, Frank said that the texture was modeling paste.
I believe it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. This is
more Masonite, right?
Gosh, it looks like that might be underneath it. The fact that he got on the spear tip is really interesting. It almost looks like a photostat. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does. Super sharp.
Yeah, and it's just like the texture looks like a damn photo was dropped in. I know it's not possible, but man, it's crazy.
Yeah, that hard edge on her hair there, it almost looks like a cutout that they pasted on that background.
Right, well, because it's like he's got this hard edge and then he put a very, very thin like white little highlight around it.
I'm thinking the contrast was kind of bumped up on this piece a little bit. You can see it in the metal and look at what you're talking about.
Let me see. I can lower the saturation a little bit. That won't really fix the contrast, but
yeah, I'm not sure you can.
Yeah,
I like that when it's a little less.
Yeah, still, man, that's really cool. He is nuts.
Metal. Yeah, it's great. He does the best cats, man.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like you don't even want to go there. Like if you're going to do fantasy and you throw cats into your work, you might as well just.
No, I would just blatantly do it and go, yeah, it's an homage to Frazetta, obviously.
Sure.
I'm doing Frazetta cats.
Diffuse it immediately.
Exactly.
You pretty much have to. Honestly, it's the easiest way to just get through it.
Dude, his wolves too, man. I love how washy that looks.
I honestly, Kelsey, I swear I'm not even exaggerating. We didn't even go through probably like 1/30 of the amount of Frazetta I have. I swear.
Well, we'll say this is part 1.
Yeah. Never call anything part 1 though.
Okay.
Less views on part 2. Everyone is part 1.
This is A1. Oh wow.
Man, that is great. Okay, we'll do one more and then we're gonna stop. Whatever it's at. This is a King Kong piece, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so soft, man.
It took me a second to place it, but yeah, I think she's got a big ape behind her.
Fay Ray.
Whoa,
some like
psychedelic. so this is when Frank was going through his health issues, and he did one piece in particular where he's like impaled on an object like this. But yeah, this is Frank was losing it at this point. He was actually, he even mentioned being suicidal. He was so ill.
So
and this is on Masonite. This is Masonite. Look at this. You can see it in there.
So he was really struggling with some stuff, and it was coming out in his art.
Yeah, he was very, very ill, and they couldn't diagnose it, and they thought it was cancer, and he thought he was going crazy, and it
what
was.
Did it end up being?
It was a uncontrolled thyroid condition.
Really?
But it was affecting him mentally. Like it was, you know, it probably was stress or anxiety, and you know what I mean? Like,
that's so wild that it would manifest in this kind of way of like abstract, you know.
Right.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
This is that Fey again, or no?
Yeah. It may not be a Tarzan piece, but it's a babe with a monkey.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go out of full screen mode and just see what we got. I'll just take a little peek. Oh, it's cool. Bush.
The king of beers. No.
Right. Wow, this is actually really cool right here. It almost looks like it's underwater, but it's not. But and the color right here is actually kind of neat. Is it? Interesting.
Yeah, like a little bit of refresh.
Oh, Cat Girl. Okay, let's.
A good one to end on. Cat Girl.
We'll end on Frank's fave.
So
I don't
good.
know what this is. I guess this is light reflecting on the gesso.
It must be. Yeah, but it really gives it a three-dimensional quality.
Look at her face, man. That is beautiful.
She's rendered perfectly. I mean, it's almost like a slightly blurry old photograph.
I know. The owner of that art museum in New York talks about that it was like, it literally looked like, he said it looked like Frank had gone back in time and like taken photo, or maybe Neil Adams said this, like he had gone back in time and like taken photographs of these scenes, but it's like you knew that no photograph could ever exist of this stuff.
Zoom in again on her like belly area. There's like these lines.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Could be underdrawing or something, or maybe
possibly
artifacts.
He did rework this one a little bit, but man, her nipples are great too. Like how this breast is almost distorted with the way that her arm is very, very cool.
The stretch of her body, you know.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good.
Even this, the almost like the blood, like you can see like the vascularity of the.
Yeah,
it's incredible. This is the one that broke Dino De Laurentiis's heart.
I can see why.
The one he couldn't, the one that got away.
He wanted that like behind him at his big table to like, you know, influence people when they walked in his office.
Well, Ralph Bakshi tells the story. Bakshi tells the story in the Painting with Fire. He's like, Dino, he threw hundreds of thousands of dollars at Frazetta. Frazetta said, no, one Italian to another. It's like I'm keeping Cat Girl or something like that. It's very funny.
Man, superb work from a superb craftsman.
Yeah, here's a little more Cat Girl.
An amazing, you know, icon of illustration.
Well, and you know, again, this is another. I mean, it's like
that's the oil's cracking.
Yeah, well, on there's a real famous painting of the woman on the horse running on the beach. It's very yellow, like a very kind of gold yellow piece.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah.
One of the kids in the family had told a story about that. The butt is literally like they actually had to have it restored because her ass fell off because Frank had repainted it so many times. The paint was quite thick on it.
Crazy.
And yeah, the butt chipped off.
That's so weird. See, that makes me want to deal with oils, you know. It's
I think what it was is they said it needs to be restored. It hadn't been restored yet, but they were saying that like the butt came off and they need to actually have it like restored.
It makes you wonder why people do oils. I mean, they're more complicated, they're more expensive, they take forever to dry. They're, you know, I don't know I'm not sure what is the benefit. Why does everybody go to oil?
Well, because there's a perceived value to oils. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's just about commerce, really. I mean, they're it's an incredible medium because of the versatility and sort of backward.
Yeah.
right, and the backwards compatibility of it. Look, it's toxic too. The shit is not good for you to be around. It's not good to breathe turpentine.
Yeah, your solvent is turpentine, for crying out loud. I mean, that's
I mean, they have more natural sort of mediums that you can blend it with, but I don't like. I could never paint in oils because I have too many allergies. I would have to do it in like water oils or something because it would actually make me ill.
You can get a lot of the same effect with acrylics, but you just have to work a little bit faster because they're not as each one beyond. It might be because it's more forgiving. I mean, you know, you can easily do some turpentine and wipe it away and
right.
But
Holbein has water oils, and they're actually beautiful. And he actually took me to a girl's booth at Comic-Con who does fine art paintings, like kind of fantasy fine art stuff. You really couldn't tell that they weren't real oils. She has kind of a Rembrandt color palette. I'm not sure her name, but he was showing me like how good that they looked on these huge oil, or like, well, they're oil paintings. It's just you're diluted with water.
So everybody's saying Rooster Punch says they're super workable. Roger Olstein says the shimmer of oil.
Okay.
And Drataz one says oil is beautiful, Kelsey. That's why. And Antoine Dennison says, Kelsey, if you use oils correctly, it will last for generations. And I think that might be a real key to that. Especially because we're still Renaissance paintings just as vibrant as they ever were.
Right. I always wonder how Copic commissions are going to hold up, as funny as that sounds. I mean, it's a complete contrast to talking about oil paintings, but man, there's a lot of people that have invested money in you know, Adam Hughes Copic, you know, pieces and stuff like that, and no one knows what they're going to look like. Not that it would matter maybe to this generation, but you know, those things could be like, look like empty drawings in another 30 40 years. Who knows, you know.
Hans Rogers says cancer oils. That makes me wonder. I mean, I wonder if there's any correlation to oil painters and cancer.
Absolutely. Well, like, here's the deal. If you watch Bob Ross, what he used to do is he would stick his brush in that paint can. He would slap it around, and then he would do it on his leg, his thigh. He would drop the brush. I would almost bet money that that's how he got pancreatic cancer. I would bet money on it. So a friend of mine's dad is a very, very famous painter, Gottfried Helmwin. Some people might know his work. He's literally like a world famous painter. He got really sick from using certain colors of blue in his work, which his work is kind of famous for a blue thing. I can't remember if it was phthalo blue or not cadmium, but there's a couple of blues that are actually pretty toxic too.
Yeah, there's some that are straight up radioactive.
Right.
Some colors, just because these colors are made out of minerals. I mean, that's where they come from. So.
Right. and it is possible that could have contributed to some of Frank's health issues. I'm not saying it did, but you know what I mean? Like, you never know.
So Rooster Puncher is asking me if I've ever done any painting with gouache. That's mostly what I do, watercolor and gouache. I love the feel of those. I don't know. I need to do some painting. I think it'll be fun to do like some, you know, painting not tutorials, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing either.
You would be amazing at it, though.
Belongs.
You know, another thing I'll point out with Frank's stuff is I'm amazed that I haven't seen any hair, like human hair or brush hair in any of these details, because usually your brush will like lose a hair, you know.
I always pick it out of there when I've had that happen a couple times, and I'm like, you know, and then you got to fix the little finger.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. That's great.
It's funny is this looks like the woman dancing's face a little bit to me.
Yeah. All right, you psychopath. It's 3 hours and 12 minutes now.
That was really fun, Kelsey. I can't thank you enough. Hopefully everyone had fun with this.
Oh yeah.
And, we'll wrap this up. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope that this is something that you can enjoy for many years to come. Come back and, you know, when you're in a Frazetta mood, take a trip down memory lane with Kelsey and I.
Sure, man. This is good fun. I've never done a deep dive on other than just looking on my own, but you managed to find quite a few pieces that I don't think I've ever seen before. So that was fun.
Like I said, we could do probably 20 more of these videos of all stuff that we've never looked at.
And we might. No commitment, though. This is not number one. This is
yeah. This is part. This is A. So okay, let me get out of this. So I go into stop sharing.
Rich will just send me a note saying, "You in a Frazetta mood?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's do it."
Whew, I feel like I need a cigarette, not even smoke. All right,
man.
thank you guys. That was really fun.
That was a blast, man.
I don't know what to say. I'm speechless.
Frazetta said it all with those glorious works of art.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So we're gonna end the broadcast, and Kelsey and I will say goodbye in the back room. So, all right. Talk to you guys all later. Have a good one, and please share this video if you wouldn't mind. I would really appreciate it. And check out Blaster Kid. I'll have a pre-launch link, and also Kelsey's YouTube channel in the description box. Okay. All right, Kelsey. All right.